Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Natsu had dual elements. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 28, Natsu vs. Jalal. With Urza and Sho. Natsu. Urza thought, feeling a sudden rush of confidence flood her body. She could almost feel Natsu standing beside her, offering words of encouragement. With a small smile, Urza opened her eyes and gazed at her opponent. Thank you for believing in me, Natsu, and lending me some of your strength. Oh, looks like you've become more confident all of a sudden, Ikaruga said, as she quirked an eyebrow in amusement. But I hope you are more focused now. Because you were so focused on reaching Jalal-san, you failed to notice the whirlwind of slices surrounding you. Nei-san, she's so serious all of a sudden, and she seems to be exuding confidence now, Sho thought, staring at Urza in awe. What happened to her? You see, I am no mere passerby on the road to be ignored, Ikaruga said, as she began to reach for her katana. It would be best not to underestimate me. I see that now, Urza said, a bright glowing bathing her entire body. When the light died down, Urza was equipped in her Heaven's Wheel armor. You're an enemy that must be cut down. I hope you're prepared, Ikaruga said with a small smirk, as she slowly slid into her fighting stance. Because here I come. In the blink of an eye, Ikaruga and Urza rushed forward and clashed swords. Then with lightning-fast movements, Urza and Ikaruga traded blows, both trying to get an advantage over the other. Because of Ikaruga's incredible speed, Urza was forced to use two swords to effectively fight her. As their blades continued to clash, the smirk never left Ikaruga's face. It was almost as if she was taunting Urza, and it was seriously starting to irritate her. Seeing a possible opening, Ikaruga stabbed her katana at Urza's stomach. However, the scarlet-haired knight was prepared for this and leaped over Ikaruga's blade, front flipping in the air. Now having the advantage, Urza prepared to attack. Circle sword. Over a dozen razor-sharp swords materialized in front of Urza. With a flick of her wrists, the swords began to rapidly spin like a buzzsaw. Urza then thrust her arm forward, causing the spinning swords to fly towards Ikaruga. However, Urza was surprised to see that Ikaruga appeared to be making no attempt to dodge her attack. Instead, Ikaruga merely took a calming breath and once again slid into her fighting stance. Form of the moonless sky. Then with blinding speed, Ikaruga spun around, her blade hitting all of Urza's in one fluid motion. Yasha's empty flash. Moments later, Urza and Sho watched in stunned silence as all of Urza's swords shattered to pieces. All my swords? Urza said underneath her breath, as she grit her teeth. She took out all my swords so quickly in one attack. This woman is seriously bad news. Oh, I hit more than just your swords, Ikaruga said with a dark chuckle, snapping her fingers. Then out of nowhere Urza screamed out in pain, as the armor she was wearing exploded off her body. Urza howled, as her armor crumbled to pieces. I'm not finished with you yet. Form of the moonless sky. Ikaruga said, slashing her sword at Urza, unleashing a wave of bright orange flames. Garuda flames. I have to act quick, Urza thought, as she raised her arms to block the intense flames. Re-equip, Flame Empress armor. Urza had managed to equip the armor just before the flames struck her. The scarlet-haired knight grunted as her armor took the brunt of the attack. Despite the armor's resistance to fire, Urza was quickly overwhelmed and sent crashing through a nearby wall. A form of flame-resistant armor? Ikaruga asked in an amused tone, staring at the hole Urza had flown through. I'm quite impressed you managed to equip it fast enough to defend yourself. What the hell were those flames? Urza thought, as she dragged herself out of the hole she had created. Not even Natsu's flames could do that to my Flame Empress armor, maybe not his blue flames, but I really don't want to test that out. That means her fire is on a completely different level. I'll have to dash. Urza's thoughts were cut off when she felt an intense pain rack her entire body. What? Without warning, Urza's Flame Empress armor fell apart, leaving her dressed in her tattered black bran and panties. How? Don't you think it's rather unladylike to expose yourself like that when there are men present? Ikaruga asked, giggling behind her hand. However, Ikaruga's eyes suddenly hardened as her ever-present smirk returned. Come now. I want a real challenge, so I suggest you bring out your strongest armor. This witch. Sho said, as he began to shake in fear. Fine. Urza snarled, her anger spiking considerably. Tightly balling her fists, Urza was encased in a blinding light. You want one of my strongest armors, then that's what I'll use. None have seen this armor and lived to tell the tale, you've been warned. When the light encasing Urza died down, it revealed an almost demonic set of armor. The armor was ink black color with many spiked features. The chest plate was entirely black except for a small arrow-like inward protrusion on both sides near her stomach. The plate was lined with several spikes that ran from top to bottom. Multiple layered shoulder guards connected to the chest plate and featured several pyramid-shaped spikes that protruded outward. Around Urza's neck was a large necklace of spikes, matching the ones found around the chest plate but much larger. A lighter colored metal covered her upper arms before connecting to the black arm guards. The arm guards sported 2 metal straps and 2 spiked protrusions near the elbows. At her waist, she wore a multi-layered spike skirt ending in the spikes found in the shoulder guards. Around her waist was a simple banded belt. The tops of her legs remained exposed before her greaves started just above her knees. Above the knee, the greaves were sectioned off, featuring 2 spikes per section. At the knee, a diamond-like pattern formed with several spikes at the outward-facing side. Below the knee, the spikes move to the side of the leg and are placed in even intervals all the way down. Urza's hair was spiked outward, similar to the armor's design. Witness it in despair. Re-equip Purgatory Armor. But before Urza could even move or utilize her new armor, Ikaruga shot forward in a flash, appearing behind Urza a moment later. Urza spit up a mouthful of blood as she collapsed to the ground, her most powerful armor shattered and in ruins. So that was your strongest armor? I must say I'm quite disappointed. So, do you understand yet? Ikaruga asked, resheathing her katana. No matter what armor you wear, it cannot stop my blade. I highly suggest you surrender. She can't win. Sho thought, as tears formed in his eyes, staring at Urza's motionless form. Nei-san can't win. I can't do it. Urza thought, tears streaming from her left eye, as she tightly closed her eyes in self-hatred. I can't beat her. She took out my strongest armor as if it were nothing at all. Maybe I should give up. I believe in you, Urza. The scarlet-haired knight's eyes widened when she clearly heard Natsu's voice in the back of her mind. His voice was faint, but Urza knew she had heard it. She could almost feel him standing next to her, encouraging her to press on. You're one of the strongest people I know. You'll win and come back to me and everyone else for sure, just like you always do. Natsu, you always believed in me more than anyone else, more than I even believed in myself. Urza thought, gritting her teeth as she struggled to stand back onto her feet. You always trusted in my strength, even when I was at my weakest and filled with doubt. You were always by my side, pushing me to never give up. Standing on shaky legs, Urza glared at Ikaruga. I'm ashamed that I was prepared to give up so easily. I now know what I have to do. Urza's body was again bathed in a bright light, but what she equipped into was radically different from her previous armors. She wore no armor, but what appeared to be normal clothing. The outfit was primarily red with some yellow, black, and white in color. The clothing consisted of a sarashir around Urza's upper chest and a red hakama with a yellow flame-like pattern at the bottom with black highlights, tied together by white strings. Urza's brilliant scarlet hair was tied up in a high tail at the back. With you by my side, Natsu, I know that I can accomplish anything and defeat any enemy. What is the meaning of this? Ikaruga asked, shocked by Urza's strange choice of attire. I can feel no magic emanating from that outfit you're wearing. It's simply fabric, that's all. Just fabric? Sho exclaimed, his eyes widening in shock. What is Natsu thinking? TCH, and after I went through such efforts to show you the extent of my skills. Ikaruga said, a hint of irritation in her voice, as her brow twitched slightly. It would appear that you're underestimating me. Natsu! Sho cried out, as he managed to get back onto his knees. What's wrong with you? You have tons of strong armors left, don't you? You're stronger than this, aren't you? No. I am not strong at all. Urza said, equipping 2 katanas into her hands. I'm not. I failed to protect the people I cared about all those years ago, and I was always crying. Every night I would cry and I'd rely on someone else to help me stop, so I always tried my hardest to make myself seem stronger than I actually was. I locked away my heart behind a suit or armor, and I cried, but one person managed to chip away at the armor around my heart, and he's the reason I can keep fighting. Even against insurmountable odds, I fight so that I can always stay by. His sighed. Urza's eyes filled with determination, as she locked eyes with Ikaruga. It's because I am weak that I always hide behind a suit of armor. I could never seem to take that armor off. Even if my opponent is naked. Ikaruga said, as she grabbed a hold of her katana. I'll cut them down. I always thought that my armor would keep me safe. Urza said, a small smile spreading across her face. But that wasn't right. The man that I love showed me that I don't need to lock myself away behind anymore. He showed me that I was strong, even without my armor. He taught me, without even saying it, that I was blocking the link that allows people's hearts to connect. Urza's grip on her katanas tightened considerably and she glared at Ikaruga. Natsu and all my nakama at Fairy Tail showed me the truth. That it's much better to be close to people, to feel the warmth that they can give, than to shun them and push them away. I don't have time for your pointless babble. Ikaruga exclaimed, as she charged towards Urza. Prepare yourself, little fairy. My doubts have all vanished. Urza yelled, preparing to meet Ikaruga's attack head-on. I will change my entire self into strength. And with Natsu and my nakama behind me, I will defeat you. This is the end. Ikaruga shouted, as she raised her blade to attack Urza. Both swordsmen shot forward and met in a head-on attack. In the blink of an eye, Urza and Ikaruga traded blows, both standing where the other had been previously. Ikaruga's ever-present confident smirk was still on her face, as she sheathed her blade. A moment later, Urza hissed in pain as a large wound opened up on her shoulder, splattering blood onto the floor. Urza simply grit her teeth and endured the stabbing pain. Looks like you lose, Ikaruga said just before her eyes shot open. She suddenly felt an excruciating pain coming from her chest. Glancing down, Ikaruga gasped when she saw blood spraying from a massive slice that ran across her chest and abdomen. Ikaruga coughed up a mouthful of blood and collapsed to the ground. Impossible. Natsu. Urza thought, panting heavily as she fought to stay standing, despite fatigue and numerous wounds. I couldn't have done it without you believing in me. All right. Natsu, you're totally awesome. Sho cheered, as he let out a cry of victory. That was quite impressive. Ikaruga struggled to say, blood steadily leaking from her mouth. I never been defeated, not once, since the guild was founded, until today. However, both you and Jalal are destined for defeat. The life began to drain from Ikaruga's eyes, as she shakily raised her hand towards the ceiling. Just 15 more minutes, see it rain down, the shining light of justice shall bring death to us all. With one last struggled breath, Ikaruga closed her eyes permanently. 15 minutes? Urza exclaimed, applying pressure to her bleeding shoulder. She has to be talking about Ether Ion. Turning around, Urza saw that Sho was slowly getting back onto his feet. Are you okay, Sho? Why yeah, I'm okay somehow. Sho replied, as he hugged his slashed chest. I was lucky that she didn't cut me too deep, the bleeding has already stopped. Sho listened to me very carefully. Urza said in serious tone that left no room for argument. You have to find Simon and the others, and my Nakama as well, and get them far away from this tower. Sho was about to say something, but Urza cut him off. You'll do this for me, won't you, Sho? Yeah. Sho replied, as he watched Urza nod her head and turn to leave. But what are you gonna do? I'm going to finish this. Urza said in a menacing tone, her eyes full of anger and determination. Everything will end today. Urza tightly closed her eyes to fight back her tears. I'm sorry, Natsu, but I guess I won't be able to give you my answer. I have to end this to save you all. With Natsu and Simon. Why did you send the blue cat off? Simon asked, as he walked up next to the dual dragon slayer. Gray will probably need help getting Lucy and Juvia out of the tower. Natsu replied with a shrug of his shoulder. I figured Happy could carry one of them if they were too exhausted to walk, you know what? Natsu turned to face Simon. We haven't been formally introduced. Oh, my name is Simon. I'm one of Urza's old Nakama. However, before Simon could say any more, he suddenly cringed in pain and collapsed onto his knees. Oi! You okay, Simon? Natsu asked, as he crouched down next to Simon. Are you hurt or something? Don't worry about me, you have to listen, Natsu. Simon struggled to say, clutching the side of his head. I just got a transmission from Wally and Miliana. They found Lucy and Juvia collapsed on the ground, along with a member from Death's Head Caucus. Natsu breathed a sigh of relief hearing that Lucy and Juvia were okay. Since they didn't know what was happening, I told them to get Lucy and Juvia out of the tower. According to a transmission from Sho, all the members of Trinity Raven have been defeated. Good, I feel much better knowing that Lucy and Juvia will be safe now. Natsu said, as he gazed at the ceiling above them. That means there's only one thing left. The only remaining enemy is Jalal himself. And Urza is heading to face him as we speak. Simon explained, slowly standing back onto his feet. She's trying to deal with him alone, with her own two hands. The two of them have shared a bond of resentment for the past 8 years now. It may be that their battle is destined by fate. However, Jalal is simply too powerful, please Natsu. You must save Urza. Nah, Urza can handle it. Natsu said, which caused Simon's eyes to widen in shock. Why, are you refusing? Simon asked, tightly balling his fists in anger. To save Urza, to save one of your own Nakama. It's true that I want to see Jalal and kick his ass, but he's Urza's enemy, so I say she should be the one to beat him. Natsu replied, as he crossed his arms over his chest. This isn't something I should just barge in on. Once Urza takes Jalal down, I'll talk with him and find out what the hell is going on. You don't understand. Simon exclaimed, tightly holding onto Natsu's shoulders. Urza has no hope of defeating Jalal. Oi! Natsu yelled, as he roughly threw Simon's hands off his shoulders. I don't give a shit if you wanna mock me, but don't you fucking dare insult Urza or any of my Nakama, you bastard. No! This is not a simple matter of strength or magical power. Simon shouted in anger, grabbing a hold of Natsu's scarf. Urza! Simon suddenly grit his teeth in frustration. Urza is still hoping she can save Jalal somehow. Natsu's eyes widened as the gears in his head suddenly started to turn. I just know it. She doesn't have it in her to actually kill Jalal. All of a sudden everything seemed to click for Natsu. Jalal, he must be the other man Urza loves. Natsu simply stared ahead dumbfounded, as Simon let go of his scarf. But how can that be? Did Urza somehow meet Jalal before I met her? Jalal is a cunning man. Simon said, as he crossed his arms over his broad chest. He will use Urza's feelings for him against her. That son of a bitch. Natsu thought, tightly balling his fists as rage slowly filled his body. What the hell has happened to him these past 7 years? The Jalal I know would never do something like that. But it's far worse than that. You know that the council is planning to fire ether ion upon this place, right? Simon explained in a grave tone. And of course if that happens, then everyone inside this tower will die. According to show, there is only 15, no. Only 10 minutes left now. What? Natsu exclaimed, this sudden revelation shocking him to his core. Urza went off on her own, telling Sho to get everyone out of the tower. Simon said, as Natsu slowly began to realize what Urza was truly planning. You know Urza probably better than anyone here, yes? It pains me to say this, but she is likely planning on using Aetherion to die, taking Jalal with her. God damn it. Natsu breathed out, shaking violently as he grit his teeth. Why didn't she just say something to me? Without warning, brilliant blue flames exploded off Natsu's entire body, sending Simon flying back several feet. What the hell is she thinking? What are these flames? Simon thought, as he shielded his face from the intense heat and light. I've never felt flames so hot before. Where the hell did Urza go? Natsu roared, sending out a shockwave of pure heat. The dual dragon slayer turned to Simon and hoisted the large man to his feet with one hand, the scorching heat singeing Simon's hair and skin. You're going to take me to Urza? Now. All right. Just calm down, Natsu. Simon exclaimed, as Natsu's flames started to burn his skin. No. I will not calm down. Natsu yelled, putting out the raging flames that encased his body. Urza's life is on the line and I will not let her die in this fucking tower. I've already lost someone precious to me. I will not allow that to happen again. Same time, Jalal's throne room. Oh my. Jalal said, as he used a knight chess piece to knock over the piece that represented Ikaruga. It looks like the game is already over, what a pity. Is it that really fun, playing games by yourself? Urza asked, stopping a few feet away from Jalal. But of course. Jalal replied in a smug tone, not turning around to face Urza. Life and death are the very basis of life, they intensify every emotion. Or to put it another way, there is nothing quite as dull as life. I must say it has been quite some time. Jalal finally turned to face the scarlet-haired knight. Urza. Jalal. Urza said, as she glared at her former nakama. You could have easily escaped this tower at any time. I'm curious, why didn't you? Jalal asked, resting his hands in his pockets. I'm here to free all of my former nakama. Urza replied, as she pointed her sword at Jalal. I could care less about them, they're no longer of any use to me. Jalal said, earning a slight growl from the scarlet-haired knight. Not with the Tower of Heaven complete. Even if it were to be destroyed 7 minutes from now? Urza asked, which caused Jalal to chuckle darkly. You mean Aetherion? Jalal said, reaching for his hood. You seem quite unconcerned, so you were really bluffing. Urza said, as she unconsciously tightened her grip on her sword. Oh, you're quite wrong. Jalal said, lowering his hood to reveal his face. Aetherion will fall. That is what I wish to hear. Urza exclaimed, as she raised her sword above her head. I simply need to keep you here for 7 more minutes. I will be able to bring an end to all of this. Oh, no. You are going to die, as a sacrifice to Zeref. Jalal said with a crazed look on his face. That is a pure fact. It is your destiny. Jalal darkly chuckled once again and pointed at Urza. There is only 7 minutes left. In 7 minutes' time Aetherion will strike this tower. Why don't we enjoy these last 7 minutes, Urza? Right now, I have no fear in my heart. Urza said, taking a powerful step towards Jalal. Even if Aetherion hits, I will satisfied as long as I take you with me. Oh? You're not saddened that you'll never see your beloved Natsu Dragneel again? Jalal asked with a twisted smile. Aren't you afraid of leaving the man you love? Urza's whole body tensed when Jalal said this. Just think how devastated he'll be. Natsu is stronger than you can possibly imagine. Urza said, lowering her head so that Jalal couldn't see the sadness in her eyes. If I die here today, he'll be in pain for some time, but he's got so many people who love and support him, he'll eventually bounce back. He's done it once before, he can do it again. Besides, I'm doing this to protect him and everyone else. You must be stopped at all costs. Urza quickly raised her arm to wipe away the tears that had been forming in her eye. And with this I can start to make up for all the pain I've caused Natsu the past few years. Well, it matters not, you will be sacrificed to Zeref and die today, Jalal said, as dark magic began to swirl around him. Here I come, Urza. Thrusting his hand forward, a barrage of dark apparitions materialized and raced towards Urza. The scarlet-haired knight reacted quickly and dodged the attack, using her sword to cut through any spirit that got too close. However, Jalal was still on the offensive, as he pointed his index and middle finger at Urza. Mid-dodge, Urza was hit by a powerful burst of magic, sending her crashing through a window, plummeting towards the water several stories below. But Urza's honed reflexes allowed her to spot a large piece of debris, and use it like a springboard, rocketing back up towards the tower. Bursting back into the throne room, Urza shot towards Jalal. You boast about just finishing this tower and now you're smashing it up? Urza questioned, vertically slashing her sword at Jalal. I truly don't know what to say. Heh, it's merely a pillar or two. Jalal sneered, as he easily dodged Urza's attack. Nothing more than decoration. Sho and the others wasted 8 long years of their lives, believing in you. Urza roared, thrusting her blade towards Jalal's stomach. But Jalal anticipated this and leaped back to avoid the attack. To make these fucking decorations. You must be getting quite upset, Urza, because you're starting to get sloppy. Jalal taunted, as he raised his hand, a sphere of dark magic forming in his palm. And spare me your petty word games. What's really important here is the R system. That's what those 8 years were spent building. With a twisted grin, Jalal hurled the ball of magic at Urza. And now it's finally complete. The dark magic hit Urza and started to engulf her entire body. However, Jalal was surprised when Urza sliced through his magic with her sword, freeing herself. Using Jalal's shock to her advantage, Urza shot forward and slashed Jalal across the stomach with her blade. Hissing in pain, Jalal was forced to the ground by Urza. This can't be the same Urza. Standing over Jalal, Urza aimed her blade directly at his face. What are you really after? Urza asked, pressing her blade against Jalal's throat, letting to slightly dig into his flesh. You haven't truly completed the R system, have you? Urza's eyes hardened as she dug his heel into Jalal's chest. Don't think I've been sitting idle for the past 8 years. I've done my research on the R system. It might be true that you built the building perfectly, following the blueprints from all those years ago. But you're still missing one basic thing to actually complete the R system. I already told you, Jalal said, as he smirked up at Urza. You're going to be the sacrifice. I'm talking about something even more basic than that, Urza said, leaning her face closer to Jalal's. The one thing you're lacking is magic. To activate a spell on such a large scale requires a total of 2,700,000,000 ideas of sheer magical power. We're talking about the kind of magic you possibly couldn't achieve even if you gathered all the mages on this continent. It is impossible for a single person to gather all that magic and store it in this tower. Urza's eyes narrowed as her mind raced. And that's not the only thing. You seem to be perfectly aware of the Council's desires to destroy this tower, yet you may now move to escape. What exactly are you planning? 3 minutes until Ether Ion hits, Jalal said cryptically with a smile on his face. Jalal, your dream is finished. It was over a long time ago, Urza exclaimed, her grip on her sword tightening considerably. Do you really intend to just die here, right now? If that's so, then you're going to die with me. I'll hold you down right here, until that final moment arrives. Why yeah, that doesn't sound too bad, Jalal said in a surprisingly sad tone, which caused Urza to pause momentarily. My body was possessed by Zeref's ghost. There was nothing I could do. I was nothing more than a pawn, working to bring about Zeref's resurrection. Possessed? Urza parroted in a confused tone. In the end, I couldn't save myself, my Nakama couldn't either, there was nobody who could save me. Jalal said, which caused Urza's eyes to slowly widen. Heaven, freedom, in the end they were nowhere in sight, it was all over before it had even begun. Same time, Magical Council headquarters. The final phase of the Aetherion firing sequence is complete. Expand the satellite square. Thus we pray. Org said, closing his eyes and lowering his head. Thus we pray. The rest of the council members said, as they followed Org's example. Thus we pray. Seagrain said, not noticing Yajima's eyes scrutinizing his every move. Same time, with everyone outside the tower. Wally and Miliana had managed to carry Juviet and Lucy out of the tower, where they met up with Sho, Happy, and Gray on their way out. Lucy and Juvia were still out cold, as everyone piled onto a small boat, and began to row as far away from the tower as possible. When the small boat was almost a mile away from the Tower of Heaven, a shining light filled the night sky, revealing a massive magic circle over the tower. Whoa, are they seriously going to fire Aetherion? Wally exclaimed, pointing at the immense magical circle. Natsu, Urza. Happy whimpered, as tears formed in his eyes. You've got to get out of there, please. Natsu. Lucy muttered in her sleep, grabbing a hold of Juvia's hand. Please stay safe. Juvia breathed out, as tightened her hold on Lucy's hand. Back with Urza and Jalal. I knew I could never really complete the R system. Jalal said, the room beginning to shake and crumble around them. But, Zeraf's ghost wouldn't allow me to stop. I cannot stop what's been set in motion. I'm just a broken down tool. Urza, you win this fight, so please, kill me. That's what you came here for, right? Urza grit her teeth as an image of Jalal, the Jalal she still loved, flashed through her mind. There's no need for me to lift a finger, this rumbling. Urza said, as she relaxed her grip on her sword. The satellite square must already be expanding over this tower. Hanging her head, Urza dropped her sword next to Jalal. It's over. For you, and for me. You were always like this. Jalal said with a light chuckle, sitting back up. You were just another sacrifice to Zeraf too, weren't you? Urza asked, as she sat down next to Jalal. This is my punishment, for giving into my own weakness. Jalal replied, looking down at his hands. My heart just couldn't make up the huge gap between dream and reality. But don't you think that burying your weaknesses, the things you lack, deep away? Urza said quietly, before she smiled at Jalal. Is what Nakama are for? I have sins to atone for as well, one of which was not saving you. Oh no, Urza. Jalal said, as he hugged Urza. You saved me. Urza wrapped her arms around Jalal, just as the tower was bathed in a bright light. However, as Urza embraced Jalal, she didn't notice the evil smile that spread across his face. Same time, several floors below. This light. Simon muttered, glancing out the window he was leaning against. So we were too late, it's over. Urza. Natsu growled, as he raced up the stairs towards Jalal's throne room. There's no way I'm going to let you die here. As Natsu ascended another flight of stairs, Aetherion hit the tower. The massive beam of magic rocked the entire tower, and created massive waves that quickly capsized the small boat Lucy and everyone else was in. However, the sudden jolt had awoken Juvia. The Blue-One-Net Water Mage reacted quickly and encased everyone in an sphere of water, saving them all from being washed away by the towering waves of water. Back at the Magical Council's headquarters, Aetherion was successfully fired. It was a direct hit. I repeat, a direct hit. Has the tower been successfully destroyed? We need a conformation now. Ether nano-fusion density is increasing steadily. This will likely cause unusual weather conditions. Just how many people were in that tower? Org asked in a grave tone, as he pinched the bridge of his nose. We have prevented the resurrection of Zeraf. Michello replied, glancing down at the bustling mages, who were busy assessing Aetherion's damage. If a few were sacrificed, then it was for a good cause. We can try to justify our actions all we like, Org said, as his eyes filled with regret. But it will never heal the hearts of the families of those who have perished. Wait. Something seems to be countering the ether nano in the very epicenter of the blast. This sudden exclamation got the attention of all the council members. And no. This is. Fusion density has suddenly gone into rapid decline. We're getting readings of a separate energy, an incredible magical power. Our equipment can't seem to keep up. What is happening? I'm trying to restore visuals now. What the hell is going on here? Org exclaimed in a panicked tone, as he tightly gripped the railing in front of him. I've reacquired visual on the target. What? I can't believe it. The target is still standing. And no. What is that thing? It looks like a giant lacrima crystal. The crystal seems to have absorbed Ethereum's magical energy. What? All of the council members exclaimed simultaneously. With Lucy and the others. Natsu. Happy breathed out, staring at the cloud of smoke and debris, which was all that seemed to remain of the Tower of Heaven. Urza. Damn it. Gray said underneath his breath, as he fought back tears. God damn it. Natsu. Juvia whimpered, cupping a hand over her mouth as tears streamed down her cheeks. Please just let Juvia be dreaming. This isn't really happening. Nay-san. Sho cried, as he fell to his knees. Why didn't you save yourself? They're not dead. Lucy said suddenly, which shocked everyone present. The celestial spirit mage subconsciously rubbed her mate Mark. I know Natsu is still okay, and that means Urza is alive as well. I can still sense his presence. Just then the smoke began to dissipate, revealing a massive crystal in place of the tower. What is that? Juvia asked, staring at the crystal tower in utter shock. It's so eerie looking. The tower's walls have crumbled away. Gray said, as he quirked an eyebrow. Leaving behind some type of crystal? Natsu and Urza are still alive in there. Lucy said to herself, clutching a hand over her racing heart. I just know they are, they have to be. With Urza and Jalal. What? Urza asked, shocked to find out that she was still alive. She glanced down at her hands to confirm that she truly hadn't died. I'm still alive? As Urza tried to comprehend why she was still in the land of the living, she was surprised to hear Jalal start chuckling. Jalal? Without warning, Jalal broke out into full-blown maniacal laughter. Finally! Jalal exclaimed, as he outstretched his arms. Finally the time has come. You? Urza said, staring at Jalal in shock. What's going on? Ha ha! Surprised, aren't you, Urza? Jalal asked with an amused smirk on his face. This is the true form of the Tower of Heaven. A gigantic pillar of lacrima. And with the power of the Council's Etherion, I have succeeded in acquiring 2,700,000,000 ideas of magical power. Finally the R system is truly complete. You bastard! Urza exclaimed, tightly balling her fists as her body filled with rage. You tricked me! Oh, you're just so very cute, Urza. A new, yet familiar, voice said from behind the scarlet-haired knight. Wiping around, Urza was stunned to see Seagrain walking towards her. Neither Jalal nor I could provide the necessary magical power. It was a truly precarious situation. I had no choice but to deceive you. Seagrain! Urza yelled, pointing an accusing finger at the Jalal look-alike. What are you doing here? Think back to the first time we met, Urza. You and Makarov came to give me a written apology. Seagrain explained, as a small smirk spread across his face. You mistook me for Jalal and attacked me instantly. We do share the same face, so I can hardly blame you. After some time I finally managed to calm you down by telling you that I was Jalal's brother. But I don't think you ever truly stopped despising me. And why the hell should have I? Urza exclaimed, glaring fiercely at Seagrain. You're his older brother, and yet you did nothing to stop him. No, ever worse, you were keeping watch over him. Yes, it would seem that I made a mistake there, Seagrain said, as he walked over to Jalal's side. I probably should have said something like, I'll find Jalal and kill him for sure. But perhaps my greatest miscalculation was meeting you in the first place, Urza, especially after I had finally managed to become a member of the council. Yes, having to come up with an excuse on the spot isn't easy, Jalal said with a smirk of his own. I knew it, you two were working together the whole time, Urza said, as she grit her teeth in anger. Working together? Looks like you still aren't understanding, Urza, Seagrain said, his body beginning to fade away, causing Urza's eyes to widen in shock. Jalal and Seagrain now spoke in unison. The two of us are one and the same. We always have been. And no, this can't be, Urza muttered, as she took a step back. A thought projection. Yes, Jalal replied, Seagrain having full vanished now. Seagrain is me, there's nothing more to it. Not possible, Urza exclaimed, slightly tugging on her scarlet locks. But then, it was you who just fired ether ion at your own body. You're telling me that's why you snaked your way onto the council? I hope you've enjoyed your illusion of freedom, Urza, Jalal said in a menacing tone, as he became shrouded in an ominous aura. It was all a part of my plan, a plan to resurrect Zirif. Exactly how many people do you plan to deceive, you scum? Urza roared, causing Jalal to chuckle darkly. What the hell is so funny? Ha ha ha. Jalal laughed, just as Urza felt his magical power spike considerably. The blue-haired man grinned evilly, clenching and unclenching his fist. My power, my magic has finally been fully restored. Same time, Magical Council headquarters. The Tower of Heaven has absorbed all 2,700,000,000 ideas of magic. That much concentrated in magic in one spot should have created a huge explosion. What in Earthland is happening? We've been had. Yajima exclaimed, as the council building suddenly began to collapse around him. Damn it! The building seems to be aging at an incredibly accelerated rate, Org said, the floor crumbling away at his feet. Is this the lost magic arc of time? Watch out, everyone! Belno yelled, as she dodged a flurry of falling debris. We need to get out of her now. Yajima watched in horror as the council's headquarters fell to pieces all around him, and people scrambled to escape the rapidly decaying building. However, amidst the chaos and screams, Yajima spotted Altair standing by herself in the middle of all the commotion. Altair, Yajima said, approaching the motionless woman. It was all for Seagrain-sama, Ultra said, as she turned to face Yajima with a smirk on her face. No. For Jalal-sama. That man's dream is about to be fulfilled. Then in a brief flash, Altair was gone, leaving behind a very confused Yajima. Moments later, Altair reappeared a safe distance away from the council's headquarters. With a small smile, Altair pulled out her crystal orb, an image of a pink-haired dragon slayer within it. Now Natsu Dragneel, show me how you intend to crush Jalal's dreams and save your precious knight. Back with Jalal and Urza. Gah! Urza screamed, being sent skidding across the floor by a powerful burst of Jalal's magic. Where's all your confidence and bravery from before? Jalal taunted, as he stalked towards Urza. Did you use it all up fighting Ikaruga? Shut your fucking mouth! Urza roared, equipping a large sword into her right hand and charging Jalal. I will kill you! Letting out a low growl, Urza wildly slashed her blade at Jalal, which he easily managed to dodge. Right now the council is completely paralyzed, Jalal said, as he continued to dodge Urza's enraged attacks. I guess I'll have to thank Altair for that. With an amused smirk, Jalal ducked underneath a slash aimed at his head. She did quite well, even though it appears that she's become quite attached to that Natsu Dragneel. At the mention of Natsu's name, Urza snarled and swung her blade down towards Jalal's head. But Jalal sidestepped Urza's attack, her blade creating a large crater in the floor. "Leave Natsu out of this," Urza growled, her furious eyes piercing Jalal like daggers. "This is between you and me, and I won't have you dragging him into this." "Oh ho, you became quite emotional when I mentioned his name." "Maybe before I sacrifice you to Ziraf, I'll kill him right in front of you," Jalal said, which caused Urza's eyes to widen in rage, veins bulging on her arms and forehead. "But it matters not, if everyone in heaven is of one mind, I have no need to fear death." With a throaty growl, Urza charged towards Jalal, equipping a second sword into her left hand. The scarlet-haired knight unleashed a fury of strikes with her dual blades, but Jalal managed to avoid all of them. "I should also thank you as well, for your immense stupidity. You'll pay for everything you've done, for every one person you manipulated," Urza roared, stabbing at Jalal's stomach. The scarlet-haired knight grunted in irritation when Jalal once again dodged her attack. "This isn't Jalal anymore." Urza's grip on her blades tightened considerably. "This isn't the man I wanted to save anymore." Gritting her teeth, Urza raised her swords to try and attack Jalal once again. "This isn't the man that I loved anymore." As Urza moved to strike Jalal, she found that could no longer move her body. Straining to turn her head, Urza spotted a striped red band winding around her entire body. What is this?" "It's a binding serpent spell," Jalal explained with a taunting smirk. "I placed it on you when you hugged me." Urza hissed in pain as the binding spell constricted her body. "Hurts, doesn't it?" I can't move," Urza grunted out, feeling all her limbs going numb and all her movements being restricted. "I can't feel my arms and legs anymore. I already have the magic collected by the R system," Jalal explained, as he watched Urza collapse to her knees. "Now that I have my sacrifice, Ziraf can be revived. I don't have any more time to play with you, Urza. I will take the 2,700,000,000 ideas of magic collected in these lacrima crystals and fuse it with your body. You will be broken down and used to recreate Ziraf's body." Jalal crouched down in front of Urza and cupped her cheeks. A menacing smile spread across Jalal's face, before he shoved Urza into a large lacrima crystal, her body beginning to sink into it. The scarlet-haired knight screaming in pain as the crystal tried to fuse with her body. "I love you, Urza. And I hate you," Urza growled, struggling against the lacrima that was dragging her in. "You bastard! 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 Oh, exalted Ziraf! I am here before you," Jalal exclaimed with a twisted smile, as he outstretched his arms. "Offering this woman's body as a sacrifice. Natsu!" Urza whimpered, her body sinking even deeper into the lacrima, only her head and right arm remaining exposed. Tears formed in Urza's left eye, as she pictured the pink-haired dragon slayer standing before her, making her heart race with his brilliant smile. There were so many things she still needed to tell him, so many things she still wanted to experience with him. She couldn't bear the thought of living her life without him by her side. Natsu, Natsu. Tears were now streaming down Urza's cheek, only her head and right hand remaining free of the crystal. Natsu! Just before Urza's face sank into the lacrima, she felt two strong hands grip her wrist. Then with a mighty yank, Urza was free of the lacrima's hold. "I got you." Urza's eyes widened when an all-too-familiar voice hit her ears. Turning her head, Urza saw that Natsu was grinning at her. "You called?" "Natsu." Urza broke down, as she choked back a sob. "You saved me." "I'll always save you, Urza," Natsu said sweetly, wiping Urza's tears with his thumb. The dragon slayer then turned his attention to Jalal, who was staring at him intently. "Urza is my girl. I won't let you have her." "Natsu, I can't move my body," Urza said, as Natsu gently lowered her onto the ground. "That's fine," Natsu said, fiercely glaring at Jalal. "I have a bone to pick with this asshole." "Wait, Natsu, he's too dangerous, let's just leave this place," Urza pleaded, which only caused Natsu to shake his head. "No can do, Urza, I've been meaning to talk with this guy ever since I found out he was here." Natsu said, kneeling down next to Urza. I can't leave until I beat some answers out of him. Please, Natsu. Urza begged, as tears once again formed in her left eye. Just do as I say. Urza. Natsu said in a gentle tone, grabbing a hold of the Urza's hand. I can win this fight, but I need you to believe in me. Natsu, you know I always believe in you, but Urza was cut off when Natsu leaned forward and kissed her forehead. If you believe in me, then let me do this. Natsu said, tightly squeezing Urza's hand to comfort her. Your life is on the line here, Urza, I will not lose. That's a promise. And you never break your promises. Urza finished for Natsu, as she chuckled weakly. Fine, but you better win this, because I have to talk with you when this is all over. I'll be looking forward to it. Natsu said with a smile, releasing Urza's hand as he stood back up to face Jalal. The Dragon Slayer had a frown on his face, as he glared at the blue-haired mage. So Jalal, long time no see. Natsu, has met Jalal before? Urza thought, as his eyes slowly widened. He's never mentioned that before. Ha! I believe you're mistaken. Jalal said, shoving his hands into his pockets. This is the first time we've met. While it's true that I've been observing you for some time, this is the first time we've been face to face. Don't bullshit me. Natsu growled, as he cracked his knuckles, causing embers to burst out of his hands. We met almost 8 years ago. I ran into you when I was searching for Igneel, and I helped you take out some bandits that were attacking you. I even took a fucking bullet in the shoulder for your ungrateful ass. Natsu's irritation steadily grew as he watched Jalal seemingly become even more confused. The dual Dragon Slayer tightly balled his fists, and the room's temperature seemed to rise. Now I'm only going to ask you this question once, where is Wendy? Wendy? Jalal repeated, his eyebrow quirking in confusion. Who's that? That was definitely the wrong response. In the blink of an eye, Natsu shot forward and slammed Jalal to the ground by his throat. Don't you fucking play dumb with me. Natsu roared, as his grip around Jalal's neck tightened. Wendy Marvel, the Sky Dragon Slayer. She has blue hair and big brown eyes. She's about 2 years younger than me. She was traveling with you, you bastard. You were helping her find her dragon. How could you forget her? Natsu snarled and slammed Jalal's head onto the floor. Now where is she? I swear to God, if you just abandoned her somewhere, I'm going to maim you. I have no idea what you're talking about. Jalal exclaimed, hitting Natsu with a burst of magic, sending the Dragon Slayer skidding several feet back. Rubbing his sore neck, Jalal slowly got back onto his feet. I don't know who this Wendy Marvel is, and I don't care. But if you mean to stand in my way, then I'll have to eliminate you. So you're gonna still play dumb, eh? Natsu said, now back on his feet, as intense blue flames exploded off his body. Fine, then I'll just have to beat some sense into you. Interesting. Jalal said with an amused look, beckoning Natsu with his hand. Why don't you show me the power of a Dragon Slayer? Natsu roared as he charged towards Jalal, scorching flames coating his fist. The dual Dragon Slayer's fist rocketed towards Jalal's face, but he managed to sidestep it. However, Jalal was caught off guard when Natsu's electrified foot slammed into his face. A small explosion of orange lighting caused Jalal to stumble backwards. Taking advantage of Jalal being stunned, Natsu sprinted forward and hit Jalal with a flaming punch to the stomach and jaw. Fire Dragon's Purifying Claw. Springboarding off his hands, Natsu kicked Jalal into the air with feet coated in blue flames. And, leaping into the air above Jalal, Natsu coated his fist in orange lightning. Lightning Dragon's Static Fist. Natsu's electrified fist slammed into the back of Jalal's head, sending him crashing into the ground. I ain't finished with you yet. Natsu's cheeks bulged as he fell towards the ground. Fire Dragon's Purifying Roar. A massive stream of blue flames exploded from Natsu's mouth, completely engulfing Jalal and melting the lacrima crystals around him. With a dull thud, Natsu landed back onto his feet. A cloud of smoke and debris surrounded Jalal. Did that knock some sense into you? I must say those are some mighty flames. Jalal's voice rang out from within the smoke. When the smoke cleared, Jalal was throwing away the tattered remains of his cloak. Although he had several burns and bruises, Jalal still looked rather unfazed by Natsu's attacks. And that lightning is quite powerful as well. But if that is truly the extent of your power, then I must say I'm rather disappointed. Sighing his disappointment, Jalal began to dust himself off. To think, before I killed you, I wanted to see the destructive power of a dragon slayer. But this level of magic wasn't all that impressive. First you kidnap my girl, using her old nakama as pawns. Then you send your goons to kill me and my friends. Natsu said, orange lightning encasing his entire body. Now you're insulting the magic that my father and big brother taught me? I'm going to make you regret saying that. In an explosion of electricity, Natsu shot towards Jalal. You had the audacity to interrupt my ceremony, Jalal said, as his body began to slightly glow. For that I'll crush you into dust with my heavenly body magic. With a powerful burst of magic, Jalal's body became cloaked in gold light. Meteor! In the blink of an eye Jalal had disappeared, using incredible speed to fly behind Natsu. Even with his enhanced senses, Natsu was barely able to track Jalal's movements. Quickly spinning around, Natsu raised his arms to block Jalal's attack, forming a wall of lightning in front of him. Jalal's attack still sent Natsu skidding back, but the blue-haired mage had taken some splash damage by attacking Natsu through his electric shield. However, Jalal didn't give Natsu a moment to rest. Jalal was moving so fast that he seemed to teleport. Having just barely recovered from the last attack, Natsu immediately had to dodge a knee to his face, then duck underneath a right hook. Son of a bitch! Natsu roared, swinging at Jalal with a fist coated in blue flames. But Jalal had vanished before Natsu's attack could hit. Damn it! He's so fast. My eyes are only holding me back here. Closing his eyes, Natsu focused on enhancing his other senses even further. Smell, sound, touch, I gotta use them to predict his movements, now focus. Emptying his mind, Natsu focused his senses on locating Jalal. After a few moments Natsu picked up his scent. There! Wiping around, Natsu smirked when he came face to face with a shocked Jalal. The dual dragon slayer's flame-coated fist rocketed forward. However, Jalal managed to most of the attack, with Natsu's fist grazing his fist. What the hell? He's even faster now. Natsu grunted in pain when he was suddenly hit by several attacks almost simultaneously. I won't let you lay a finger on me again, Jalal said, as he brutally kicked Natsu in the stomach, causing the dragon slayer to cough up some blood. It's over now. With a triumphant look, Jalal flew into the air above Natsu. Time for you to witness real destructive power. While in the air, Jalal placed both arms on top of each other, with the top hand having only the index and middle fingers spread out. 7 magic seals were summoned in front of him and connect, creating a constellation of sorts. Grand Chariot. Each magic seal then released a powerful light blast down onto Natsu, forming the same pattern on the ground before exploding. When the lights from the explosion died down, Natsu was face down on the ground, not moving. And Natsu! Urza exclaimed, tears forming in her eyes. Get up please. You promised me that you'd win. That spell I used was comparable to an actual meteor, Jalal said, as he stared at Natsu's motionless form. I must say that I'm impressed your body is still in one piece. With a slight chuckle, Jalal glanced at the destruction his spell had caused. On the other hand, it seems like I may have gone too far this time. Any further damage to the R system would be troublesome. It seems like the magic is already starting to leak out. With a twisted smile, Jalal turned to face Urza. We'll have to hurry. Right, Urza? However, before Jalal could walk towards Urza, he felt something very hot graze his cheek. Jalal touched a hand to his cheek and was shocked to see blood on his fingers. Turning around, Jalal saw that Natsu was back onto his feet, although very battered and exhausted. The dual dragon slayer had a flaming piece of lacrima crystal in his hand. Natsu cocked his arm back and hurled the flaming piece of crystal at Jalal, this time hitting him in the shoulder. Hee, I hit you with my attack. Natsu said with a pained grin, struggling to stay on his feet. You said that last attack was like a meteor, well you're gonna have to hit me with a fucking planet to keep me down. Jalal growled as he balled his fists in anger. Say Jalal, you're quite fond of this little tower, aren't you? Natsu coated his fist in blue flames and slammed it into the ground, causing the crystal floor to shatter and melt. This tower is just one giant crystal, right? If I tear it down, it should lose its power. And that would just piss you off, wouldn't it? There's one thing that all fairy tale mages specialize in. Natsu's body became engulfed in brilliant blue flames, melting the crystals at his feet. And that's property damage. With a toothy grin, Natsu wiped the blood from his lips, beckoning Jalal to attack this time. I'm still raring to go, Jalal. In fact, I've never felt better. You little shit! Jalal exclaimed in rage, as veins bulged on his forehead. I'm going to finish you in an instant. You're going to regret getting back up. I'll send you straight to hell. That's where you're wrong. Natsu said, his grin widening. I'm way too stubborn to stay down. So come get me if you can. Jalal snarled before unleashing a barrage of attacks using his heavenly body magic. Getting a second wind, Natsu managed to dodge or block all of Jalal's attacks. Come on. This can't be all you've got. Natsu's taunt earned him an especially powerful burst of magic from Jalal. The glowing ball of magic sent Natsu skidding back several feet, but he managed to deflect most of the damage with a shield made of lightning. What's the matter, Jalal? Are you holding back because you're afraid of wrecking your precious tower? Sweat was pouring off Natsu's brow as he panted heavily. Those puny attacks had no effect on me. Don't get cocky, you bastard. Jalal yelled as he hit Natsu with another burst of magic, sending the Dragon Slayer tumbling back. Fine. You don't want to take me seriously, then. Natsu said mid-tumble, his cheeks bulging. Fire Dragon's elegant flame. Natsu slammed a massive ball of brilliant blue fire into the ground, creating a massive crater and melting anything in its vicinity. My tower, that I spent 8 years making. Jalal said, as his rage spiked considerably. He's pushing himself too far. Urza thought, watching Natsu pant heavily and fight to stay on his feet. He won't be able to keep this up much longer. Unforgivable. Jalal roared, as he raised his hands into the air, causing a massive shockwave of magic. The blue-haired mage's body was engulfed by a blinding light. Both Natsu and Urza had to shield their eyes from the intense waves of pure magic and intense light. What the hell is this magic? Natsu said, feeling a shiver run down his spine. It feels awful. The shadows are extending towards the light? Urza muttered, as she suddenly realized what spell Jalal was planning on using. This spell. It can't be. Fall into endless darkness. Dragon Slayer. Jalal exclaimed, his magic flaring as he glared at Natsu. However, Jalal was quite surprised when Urza jumped to her feet and stood in front of Natsu. Looks like the binding spell wore off. Are you going to kill me as well? Urza asked, as she raised her arms to shield Natsu. I thought Zeref's revival required a sacrificial body. That's true. Jalal said, gazing at Urza with a dark look in his eyes. The conditions roughly require a mage on par with one of the 10 wizard saints. But at this point it makes no difference with, or without you. Urza's eyes widened when she saw the magic Jalal had been gathering turn into a large ball of black energy. The two of you are going to be obliterated. Urza! Get out of the way! Natsu exclaimed, as he reached out to the scarlet-haired knight. You don't have to do this. Don't worry, Natsu. Urza said with a small smile, not a hint of fear on her face. You've always protected me in the past, this time I'll be your shield. Nu! Natsu roared, feeling his heart thunder in his chest, almost as if it were about to burst out. Heavenly body, Alta Iris. With a twisted grin, Jalal hurled the condensed ball of dark magic at Urza and Natsu. The dual dragon slayer watched in horror as the spell raced towards Urza, who was prepared to take the attack head-on. For a few brief moments Natsu's heart stopped beating, closing his eyes as he screamed out Urza's name. Then the attack hit, creating a large explosion that shook the entire room. Once the room had stopped shaking, Natsu cracked an eye open, and was shocked to see that it was not Urza who had taken the hit. Instead, Simon stood in front of both Natsu and Urza, his body smoking and covered in serious injuries. Simon. Urza breathed out, watching the large man give a strangled breath before he collapsed onto the ground. Instantly Urza was by his side, as he kneeled down next to him. Simon. So that little worm was still crawling around here? Jalal asked himself, as he looked at Simon in disgust. What are you doing here? Urza exclaimed, gently grabbing a hold of Simon's hand. Why didn't you escape with everyone else? Simon, answer me. Couldn't let Natsu have all the glory, Simon said, as he forced a smile and gave a pained laugh. I'm just happy that you're okay. I was finally able to help. I get it. Just don't talk anymore, Urza shouted, fighting back her tears. Please just focus on getting out of here with us. You were always so gentle, so kind, Simon said, as tears streamed down his cheek. Simon, Urza said quietly in a shaky voice, feeling the large man go limp in her arms. Simon? I loved you, Simon thought, as he began to close his eyes. But before his eyes fully shut, Simon cast one last glance at Natsu. I'll leave Urza in your hands, Natsu. Please take good care of her, she deeply cares about you. Then with a smile on his face, Simon shut his eyes for the last time. No! Urza let out a blood-curdling scream, crying onto Simon's chest. Pathetic! Jalal exclaimed, before he burst out laughing. How utterly foolish! It was you! Natsu muttered, as he watched Urza continue to cry. It was a sound he had wished to never hear again. I promised that Urza would never cry like this ever again. The dual dragon slayer's entire body began to shake with rage, as he balled his fists so tightly that blood dripped from his palms. It's your fault, it's all your fault. Now that's what they call dying in vain. Simon! Jalal taunted, as he continued to laugh hysterically. The situation hasn't changed at all. No one will leave this tower alive. Shut your fucking mouth. Natsu roared, hitting Jalal in the face with an incredibly powerful punch. The dual dragon slayer's attack sent Jalal flying across the room. You! Natsu slammed his flaming fist into the floor, and yanked out a chunk of the Aetherion-charged lacrima crystals. You and this stupid fucking tower are reasons Urza used to cry at night. Then to both Urza and Jalal's shock, Natsu took a huge bite out of the crystal. Almost immediately the dual dragon slayer let out a might roar, as the Aetherion filled his body. This guy ate Aetherion? Jalal thought, as he stared at Natsu in stunned silence. Letting out another roar, Natsu slammed his fists into the ground, creating a shockwave that destroyed the ground around him. But Natsu suddenly began to cough and sputter, Aetherion leaking from his mouth. Natsu gripped his throat in pain, as he fell to his knees, all the veins on his body bulging. What does he think he's doing? Urza exclaimed in a worried tone, as she watched Natsu scream in pain. Aetherion is composed of many different magical elements, not just fire and lightning. He's being killed by his own stupidity. Jalal thought with an evil smirk. It's only a matter of time before he dies now. Suddenly Natsu roared again, and his magical power seemed to spike through the roof. Urza and Jalal watched stunned, as a dragon made of blue flames and orange lightning encased Natsu's body. As the flaming dragon disappeared, Natsu leveled a ferocious glare on Jalal, scales seeming to cover his face and arms. He did it. Urza thought, watching as Natsu became engulfed in a flurry of fire and lightning. He's fusing his magic together. He actually absorbed Aetherion. Jalal thought, as he began to panic. It's all because of you. Natsu roared, slamming into Jalal with an electrified flaming knee to the chin. The dual dragon slayer then grabbed Jalal by the throat and smashed him through several of the tower's floors. "You're the son of bitch that made Urza cry." Jalal grunted in pain, as he crashed through floor after floor. "I made a promise." The hand gripping Jalal's throat suddenly became cloaked in flames and lightning. "I promised that Urza would never have to cry like that again." "Oh, shut the hell up!" Jalal exclaimed, as his body was coated in a golden light. "Me dear." Using his spell, Jalal flew up into the air far above Natsu. "Don't think you can ever match my speed. Don't underestimate." Natsu yelled, using a falling piece of debris to spring back up to Jalal with incredible speed. The dual dragon slayer's fist slammed into Jalal's stomach, knocking all the air out of his lungs. "A dragon!" Urza watched in awe of Natsu's newfound power. "He's incredible, the most incredible man I've ever met." "Impossible!" Jalal exclaimed, as he pushed himself away from Natsu. "I cannot be defeated. I will create a land of freedom." Using his enhanced speed, Jalal leaped up high above the tower. "Ziraf called to me softly through all the pain and fear. He asked me if I wanted freedom. That's right, I'm the only one who can sense Ziraf's presence." A crazed look spread across Jalal's face. "I am the chosen one. Together with Ziraf, I will create a nation of true freedom." "Like hell you can do that by stealing other people's freedom," Natsu yelled, scrambling up to where Jalal was. "The will to change the world, that alone is enough to turn the wheels of history," Jalal shouted, as he began to make rapid gestures with his fingers, their tips glowing with magic. "Why can you fools not understand that?" Moments later a large magical circle appeared in the air above Jalal. Urza's eyes hot open when she realized what spell Jalal was casting. "Abyss break? You'll take down the whole tower with that. Just give me another 8 years," Jalal said with a twisted smile. "No, this time I'll complete it in 5 years, Ziraf, please just wait a little longer." However, before Jalal could cast the spell, a sudden splitting pain from his stomach caused him to falter. It was the wound Urza had given him earlier, when she slashed his stomach. "You're never gonna find freedom," Natsu roared, flying towards Jalal in a cloak of blue fire and orange lighting shaped like a dragon. "There's no freedom for those held down by phantoms." Natsu cocked his fist back. "Remember who you are, Jalal." Natsu's fist became coated in orange lighting. "Lightning." Then the lightning became infused with blue flames. "Flame." Natsu's explosive attack hit Jalal in the stomach, and sent him hurtling through the entire tower. "Dragon's Demolition Fist." A slash, and this is sort of a precursor to Natsu's Demolition Fist that appears later in the manga. With crash, Natsu landed back in front of Urza, smoke and falling debris surrounding him, as he stood back onto his feet. "So this is Natsu's true power, the power of a dragon slayer." Urza felt her whole body start to go numb, as Natsu's powerful magic washed over her. "I've seen anything like it." A smile spread across both Natsu and Urza's faces as they locked eyes. "He actually beat Jalal, he kept his promise. My battle spanning 8 long years is finally over. At last, everyone can have true freedom." Urza was shaken from her thought when she saw Natsu begin to collapse. "Natsu!" Diving forward, Urza caught Natsu and hugged his head against her chest. "You are absolutely incredible, Natsu. You truly are." But Urza's moment with Natsu was cut short when the tower began to collapse around her. Same time, with Altair. "That was truly incredible," Altair said, as she licked her lips. "That display of power was far beyond my expectations." Altair smirked as she put her crystal orb away. "You never seem to disappoint me, Natsu Dragneel." Chapter 29, Urza's Decision. Waters outside the Tower of Heaven, with Lucy and the others. "The tower!" Wally exclaimed, as the crystal tower began fall apart and glow brightly. "What's going on? Don't tell me Ethereum's power is going wild." Gray said, large waves beginning to crash over the sphere of water Juvia had created. What do you mean going wild? Lucy yelled in a panic, as she spun around to face Gray, fear flashing through her eyes. Are Natsu and Urza going to be okay? Having all that magical energy stored in one place. Happy muttered, staring up at the shining tower. It's so unpredictable, who knows what it'll do. And now all that magical power has nowhere to go. Juvia said, as she clutched a hand over her heart, her entire body shaking. It's likely going to erupt into a gigantic explosion. What about Nasan and the others inside? Sho exclaimed, frantically pointing at the tower behind him. Do they have any chance of making it? There's no point in talking about the survival of others, because every single one of us, Gray said, as he grit his teeth in frustration, is doomed. Back inside the Tower of Heaven, with Urza and Natsu. Simon. Urza said quietly, hoisting Natsu onto her back and sparing one last glance at her old nakama. Simon's body lay several feet away, slowly sliding into the collapsing floor. Fighting back tears, Urza tore her gaze away from Simon and focused on trying to find a way out of the tower. As Urza ran through the collapsing tower, dodging falling debris, plumes of volatile magic would burst out of the cracks in crystals. Ducking underneath a stream of magic, the ground beneath Urza started to collapse, causing her to lose her footing and fall to the ground. The power, it's actually destroying the very lacrima containing it. Urza thought, as he stared at the collapsing tower around her. Its destructive power is far greater than I could have possibly imagined. Even if we somehow get out of this tower, we'll still be caught up in the explosion. Growling in anger, Urza punched the crystal floor. Damn it all. Is this really how this is going to end? Urza turned her head to look at Natsu, who was still unconscious. And after Natsu went through all that trouble to save me. As Urza stared at Natsu's defenseless form, she became even more determined to keep him safe. Tightly balling her fists, Urza got back onto her feet. No. I refuse to give up, it's my turn to save you now, Natsu. Urza scanned her surroundings, as the tower continued to fall apart, and streams of powerful magic exploded from the floor all around her. But we can't run from this, can't defend against it, even if we work together. What can I do? Just then Urza remembered something Jalal had said earlier. He said I could fuse with the lacrima, didn't he? Urza stared at Crystal before her, then back at Natsu. If I were to be fused with ether ion, I could possibly control this magic and prevent the explosion. Urza reached out her hand to touch the lacrima, but stopped just as her fingertips grazed its surface. She once again turned to look at Natsu. Urza suddenly lowered her head, as her filled with sadness. If I do this, I won't be able to see him anymore, I won't be able to tell him my decision, I won't be able to spend the rest of my life with him, but... Urza then pictured Lucy and Mira standing by Natsu's side. I can't bear the thought of hurting my nakama, because I had put my own feelings above theirs. A sad smile spread across Urza's face, as she kneeled down and gently stroked Natsu's cheek. I'm sorry, Natsu, I'm sorry I won't be able to stand by your side anymore. Tears began to fall from Urza's left eye. But know that I'll always love you, Natsu. I've been in love with you ever since we were kids. Urza stopped, stroked Natsu's cheek and stood back up, pressing her hand against the lacrima. I know it's going to hurt, Natsu, I know you're going to feel pain like you've never felt before, but you're stronger, both physically and emotionally, than anyone else I know. You'll also have Lucy and Mira by your side to comfort you. It'll be hard, Natsu, but I know you'll pull through. Urza hissed in pain as her hand began to sink into the lacrima. I'm sorry, Natsu, but this is the only chance we have left. The scarlet-haired knight grunted in pain when the lacrima began to pull her in. However, as Urza let the lacrima drag her in, she didn't notice that Natsu was starting to regain consciousness. Good. The lacrima is still ready to accept me. Urza. The scarlet-haired knight's eyes widened when she heard Natsu's worried voice. She turned around to see Natsu staring at her, his eyes open in shock. What are you doing? Why are you sticking your body in that crystal? This is the only way of stopping ether ion. Urza said with a sad smile, as she avoided looking Natsu in the eyes, because she knew if she did, she would break down and not be able to finish what she was attempting to do. Stopping ether ion. Natsu repeated, struggling to get back onto his knees. The ether ion energy stored within this tower has gotten out of control, it's about to cause a massive explosion. Urza explained, as she felt her entire arm sink into the lacrima. But if I can fuse with ether ion and seize control of that power dash. You idiot! If you do that you'll dash. Natsu was cut off when Urza screamed out in pain, as most of the right side of her body was pulled into the lacrima. Urza! Natsu scrambled to his feet, but his weary legs soon gave out, causing him to fall onto his stomach. Urza, please. You don't have to worry about anything, Urza said, grunting as most of her body was sucked into the lacrima. I'll stop this for sure. Stop this, Urza! Natsu exclaimed, as he frantically crawled over to the lacrima Urza was in. Stop it now. Natsu! Urza said sweetly, reaching out and cupping the Dragon Slayer's cheek. I can't live without you, or Fairy Tail. I can't imagine a world with either of them. That's just how much. Urza smiled softly as she lovingly stroked Natsu's cheek. All of you mean to me. A single tear rolled down Urza's cheek as she moved her hand from Natsu's cheek. Especially you, Natsu, you mean more to me than anyone else in the world, and I love you. I was a fool for not telling you sooner, for not realizing that the perfect man was right in front of me, while I still secretly fawned over a man who had betrayed me. Urza, please. Natsu choked out, as tears freely fell from his eyes. He could feel his heart breaking into pieces. Don't leave me. Natsu. The dual Dragon Slayer looked up, with tears streaming down his cheeks, to see Urza smiling at him. If doing this even has a small chance of saving you all, then I have no regrets. This one body, they can take it. With this final exclamation, Urza's whole body drifted into the lacrima crystal, slowly floating farther away from Natsu. Urza! Natsu roared, as he frantically pounded on the lacrima. Get the hell out of there, Urza! Natsu! Urza thought, casting one last glance at the man she loved, before she would never see him again. Her heart ached when she saw the devastation on Natsu's face, but she had to finish what she started, to save everyone she held dear. I'll leave the others to you, please keep Lucy and Mira safe. Remember, I'll forever be inside your heart, Natsu, watching over you. Urza aya. Natsu screamed in anguish, as streams of ether ion erupted all around him, causing the entire tower to shake. The dual Dragon Slayer felt a hole forming in his heart, watching as Urza's form engulfed by the incredible amount magical power. You must save her. You cannot let her perish. Rescue her now. Nu! Natsu roared, an amazing amount of scorching blue fire exploding off his body, instantly melting anything they touched. Unleashing a ferocious growl, Natsu slammed his flaming fist into the lacrima, disintegrating everything around it. Not again. I will not lose someone close to me ever again. Completely ignoring the chaos that was happening around him, Natsu used brute force to push his way further into the lacrima. If anyone was watching, they would be stunned to see that blue Natsu's flames were actually burning away the erupting ether ions surrounding him. Urza! I will not allow you to die here. You're coming back to Fairy Tail with me. I don't care if I have to fight God himself to bring you back. Same time, just outside the Tower of Heaven. It's happening. Wally exclaimed in terror, as the Tower of Heaven began to glow brightly, massive waves being created by the sheer amount of magic that was being released. Miliana had tightly clutched Wally, as she cried into his shoulder. We're so screwed. Hold on a second. Gray yelled, pointing to a tower of ether ion that was shooting out of the tower, into the sky. Something isn't right. It's going back up into the sky. Not exploding. Gray-sama, look at that as well. Juvia said with wide eyes, as she frantically gestured to the top of the tower. Gray turned his attention from the stream of ether ion and saw that the entire top portion of the tower appeared to be on fire. What the? Gray muttered in shock, watching as brilliant blue flames ate away at the crystal tower, melting the crystals. That can't be Natsu, can it? Natsu! Lucy said underneath her breath, as she clutched both hands over her thundering heart, tears falling from her eyes. Please. Please come be safe, and bring Urza back home. He'll be okay. Juvia thought, her ocean blue eyes fixated on the burning tower. Natsu will come back to us, Juvia knows he will, he has to. Just then the tower began to glow twice as bright, forcing everyone to shield their eyes from the blinding light. Following the intense light was a massive shockwave that kicked up colossal waves, and sent Juvia's sphere of water flying back. Juvia grunted in exertion, as she struggled to keep the water sphere from breaking, wave after wave crashing into it. After several minutes the blinding glow died down and the large waves stopped. When everyone looked to where the Tower of Heaven had been, they were all shocked to see that the tower was no longer there. It's gone. Lucy whispered, as she began to fear the worst. She could still faintly feel her connection to Natsu through her mate Mark, but it didn't stop her from worrying. Like, it vanished into thin air. Is it actually over? Gray asked, staring at the empty space where the Tower of Heaven used to be. 7 years earlier, forest outside Magnolia. That's quite the nasty wound you have there. Poorly Yusuke said, as she leaned in closer to investigate Urza's severely damaged right eye. Behind Urza stood Fairy Tail's master, Makarov Dreyer, and Natsu Dragneel. Urza and Natsu had joined Fairy Tail 2 weeks earlier, and after quickly forming a team, both mages had already gone on several easy jobs. However, they quickly learned that Urza's impaired eyesight made it difficult for her to help on certain missions. So Urza eventually asked Makarov if he knew of any way to heal her right eye. The elderly master didn't personally know of any way to help her, but he did offer to take her to Poorly Yusuke, Fairy Tail's personal physician. Urza had jumped at the chance to have her eyesight fully restored. She had asked Natsu to tag along, because ever since they had started sharing a room, she felt quite odd when the Dragon Slayer wasn't around. Natsu was also Urza's closest friend in Fairy Tail, and she wanted to spend as much time with him as possible. As Poorly Yusuke continued to inspect Urza's eye, Natsu tried his best not to stare at what was happening. He knew that Urza's eye was a very touchy subject and he didn't want to upset her in any way. It won't be an easy job, getting you to see out that eye again. Oh, don't be like that, Poorly Yusuke. Makarov complained, glancing at Urza as she silently put her white eye patch back into place. This little lass has such a beautiful face, it would be a shame to leave it like this. You come with me. Poorly Yusuke hissed, as she dragged Makarov away from the two children by his ear. When Poorly Yusuke was sure they were out of earshot, she released Makarov's ear and got right in his face, a dark look in her eyes. I hope you plan on keeping your hands off that girl when she grows up. Poorly Yusuke gazed past, the now quite frightened, Makarov at Urza. The scarlet-haired girl had a small smile on her face, as she listened to Natsu energetically tell a story, waving his arms and occasionally blowing out puffs of fire or lightning. Besides, it looks like she's already quite fond of that young lad. Oh, of course, I understand. Makarov said, laughing nervously as he rubbed the back of his head. I would never do anything like that. Makarov immediately shrunk back when Poorly Yusuke gave him a knowing look. Okay, I promise I won't do anything. Good. Poorly Yusuke said, as she crossed her arms over her chest. So, where'd those two come from? Well, the girl told me she apparently owes a debt to old Rob. Makarov replied, causing Poorly Yusuke's eyes to widen considerably. The boy on the other hand, I don't really know. All he's told me so far is that he's looking for his father and older brother. Wait. So that girl knows Rob? Poorly Yusuke exclaimed softly, as she leaned closer to Makarov. Where is he then? Dead, according to her. Makarov said in saddened tone, Poorly Yusuke releasing a heavy sigh. That's a shame then. He was a good man. Poorly Yusuke said, as she rubbed her chin. You said the boy is looking for his father and older brother? Shouldn't he have asked the police, or even the army to help him? Normally you'd be correct, but... Makarov said, glancing at Natsu out of the corner of his eye. According to him, his father and older brother are dragons. Dragons, you say? Poorly Yusuke muttered, as she stared at Natsu with a curious look in her eyes. Quite the unique batch of youngsters you have, Makarov. Makarov couldn't help but laugh at the little remark. Well, anyways, I think I have a way to fix that girl's eye. Go fetch her and bring her into my home, I'll start getting things ready. Several hours later, poorly Yusuke had apparently finished fixing Urza's eye. Makarov was forced to leave earlier because of urgent guild business, but Natsu had stayed behind to keep Urza company. The dual dragon slayer sat in a chair a few feet away from Urza, as poorly Yusuke carefully unwrapped the bandages that had been covering Urza's face. Urza's back was facing Natsu, so he couldn't immediately tell if the operation was successful or not. How's it look? Poorly Yusuke asked, handing Urza a hand mirror. The scarlet-haired girl slowly took the mirror and inspected herself. She began to shake slightly when she saw that her right eye was fully restored. It's all healed, Urza said with a bright smile, as she blinked her right eye several times. It's like it was never damaged in the first place. So, I take it you can see all right? Poorly Yusuke said, earning a quick nod from Urza. Then you better get out of here quick. I can't stand humans being in my home. I can't believe it's healed, Urza said, as she began to cry. Let me see Urza, Natsu exclaimed, leaping off his chair and running in front of Urza. When Natsu saw Urza's face, he was overjoyed to see that everything appeared to be fine. However, Natsu quickly noticed that something wasn't right. Hey Urza. The dual dragon slayer reached over and wiped the tears from Urza's cheek. Why are you only crying from one eye? This immediately caught both Urza and poorly Yusuke's attention. Instantly poorly Yusuke was in front of Urza, and was shocked to see that she was indeed only producing tears from one eye. Wait, that's quite strange, poorly Yusuke said, as she began to quickly flip through the book she had used to help heal Urza's eye. Why are you only crying from one eye? That can't be right, I'm positive I mixed all of the ingredients perfectly. That's okay, Urza said with a smile, surprising poorly Yusuke. I've already shed half my tears anyways. Urza, Natsu thought, as he stared at the girl with sad eyes. How much pain have you endured? 7 years later, unknown location. With a sharp intake of air, Urza's eyes snapped open. She glanced around, and found herself seemingly floating in an empty golden void. Where am I? Looking down, Urza was quite surprised to see that she was wearing a flowing, white dress. Am I inside Ether Ion? No. This feels much warmer. Suddenly the void below Urza began to change. When Urza looked down, she spotted a large group of people standing in the rain, as they gathered around a large stone monument. Upon closer inspection, saw that the monument actually stood before a grave with her name written on it. I see now. Urza gazed at the crowd and saw that it was filled with most of her nakama. So, I really am dead. Urza felt a pang of regret, seeing the saddened looks and tears of her nakama. The scarlet-haired knight watched as Makarov slowly made his way towards the front of the crowd. Urza Scarlet. Makarov tried his best to find the right words, his shoulders sagging in sadness. Was loved by God, and she loved God, and she loved all of us, her precious nakama. Her heart was far bigger than the endless sky. And her sword glowed brightly for those that she loved. Her figure, dancing like a graceful fairy, was more beautiful than any vista nature could offer. Makarov tightly balled his fists and his shoulders began to shake. Love makes people strong. And love can make us weak too. Makarov had to stop briefly to choke back a sob and fight his tears. I loved her like my own daughter. I pray that her soul may rest in peace. No longer able to hold back his tears, Makarov hid his face in his palm. As the crowd let Makarov's words sink in, another group of cloaked figures made their way towards Urza's grave. The insignia on the group's backs showed that they were members of the Magical Council. The council has voted unanimously, one of the 2 newly opened seat. Grand Doma said, as he kneeled in front of Urza's grave to say a quick prayer, the other council members following his lead. Shall forever be granted to this woman. Urza Scarlet will forever be counted amongst the 10 wizard saints. Rising back onto his feet, Grand Doma placed a comforting hand on Makarov's shoulder. I'm sorry for your loss, Makarov. She was truly an exceptional mage, and an even greater person. Makarov said nothing in reply, as the council members all turned to leave. Gray. Urza's attention was now drawn to Kana, who was standing next to the ice mage. Have you heard anything about Natsu? The scarlet-haired knight's eyes widened at the mention of Natsu's name. Now that Urza looked closely, she did notice that Natsu was noticeably absent, along with Lucy and Mira Jane. Nobody's seen him in almost 3 weeks. No. I haven't heard a thing. Gray replied in a sad tone, shaking his head. Lucy and Mira haven't been able to help him very much. He barely eats or drinks anything, and he never seems to leave his house. He's been cooped up in there ever since we got back. And the only people that have seen him are Lucy and Mira. They're the only ones he'll let in his home. Gray sighed and shoved his hands into his pockets. Flame Brain is taking this harder than anyone else. It's almost like a piece of him died with Urza. Suddenly the scene shifted, and Urza was floating inside Natsu's home. Urza immediately noticed that there was absolutely no light in the small house and that it was even messier than usual. Spinning around to gaze around the house, Urza gasped in horror when she saw the couch. Sitting only a few feet away from her was Natsu, with Lucy and Mira sitting on either side of him. Both girls were resting their heads on Natsu's shoulders, their cheeks tear-stained, as they held his hands. But what shocked Urza the most was Natsu's appearance. The dual dragon slayer looked almost emaciated, his eyes sunken and rib cage clearly visible. But what horrified Urza the most were Natsu's eyes. Natsu's normally bright and joy-filled eyes were now completely dead, devoid of any sign of emotion. The pink-haired dragon slayer stared at the wall ahead of him, but it was as if he was staring at nothing at all. He made no sounds and didn't move at all, just continuing to stare straight ahead as if he were in a trace. It was just like Gray had said, it was almost as if a piece of Natsu had withered away and died. Natsu. Urza thought, as she cupped both hands over her mouth, tears streaming from her left eye. This is far worse than I could have ever possibly imagined. I did this for you, for the sake of everyone's futures, and yet, this is the future I gave you, a future filled with tears and anguish. Please stop mourning me. I didn't want to see a future like this. I did it, to see you all smile. Stop this, please. This isn't what I wanted. Suddenly Urza felt herself surrounded by comforting warmth, and the golden void around her began to fade away. With a start, Urza's eyes snapped open. Instead of endless golden nothingness, Urza was staring up at the starry night sky, feeling a cool evening breeze blow through her hair, the sounds of gentle waves surrounding her. Where am I? Urza asked herself, as she began to hear the sound of numerous people running through the water. Urza! Turning her head, Urza was shocked to see all her nakama running towards her, with Lucy leading the group. Urza, you're okay. Lucy exclaimed with tears in her eyes, as she tightly wrapped her arms around the scarlet-haired knight. Thank God you're okay. I was so worried. Geez, don't make us worried like that, damn it. Gray scolded in mock anger, furiously wiping away his own tears. Juvia is glad that Urza-san is safe. Juvia said with a small smile. Juvia was quite worried about you as well. What's going on? Urza muttered, raising her arms so that she could look at her hands. Am I alive? It was then that Urza finally realized that she was being carried. Turning her head, Urza's eyes slowly widened when she that it was Natsu who was carrying her. Natsu had a stern look on his face, his body was covered in dozens of injuries. And Natsu, did Joe. But, how? Tears began to fall from Urza's left eye, as she gazed up in awe at the man she loved, who had apparently once again saved her life. You actually found me in that massive vortex of magic? You're truly incredible, Natsu. Urza gasped lightly when Natsu's legs suddenly gave out, and he was forced to kneel in the water. We're the same. Natsu said, as his entire body began to shake. Urza was confused for a moment, but then she remembered what she had said before she tried to fuse with the lacrima. We're all the same. Natsu hung his head, and Urza could see that he was crying. Don't you ever do something so fucking stupid ever again? Natsu's voice was barely above a whisper, and he was constantly sniffling to fight back his sobs. I don't give a shit what's going on, don't ever scare me like that again. Natsu dash. Never. Natsu roared, unable to hold back his sobs anymore. Asterisk sniffle asterisk I was so scared that I'd lose you, Urza. Okay, I promise. Urza said with a small smile, gently pressing her forehead against Natsu's. Thank you, Natsu. Urza reached up and wiped the tears from Natsu's eyes, stroking his cheek as well. Natsu, I have something very important to tell you. What is it? Natsu asked, as he locked eyes with Urza. I've made my decision. Urza said, cupping Natsu's face with both hands. And I choose you. Without any hesitation, Urza lunged forward and captured Natsu's lips in a passionate kiss. Natsu was so stunned that he didn't react for a few moments, but when he came back to his senses, he returned the kiss with all the love that had been pent up over the years. Natsu's fingers tangled in Urza's long scarlet locks, as he pulled her even closer to deepen the kiss. For the first time in 7 years, tears fell from Urza's right eye, tears of joy. That's right, I don't have to die for my Nakama's sake, I have to live for their sake. The kiss was everything Urza had dreamed it would and so much more. The way Natsu kissed her was fiery, yet gentle at the same time, and his lips seemed to tingle ever so slightly, sending shivers of pleasure down her spine. Urza let out a small moan when Natsu snaked his tongue into her mouth, his more experienced tongue easily overpowering her own. About damn time. Gray said with a smirk, as he crossed his arms over his chest. And Nasan. Sho muttered, a fierce blush spreading across his face. I didn't know you had a side like this. Don't look, Miliana. Wally said, as he covered the cat girl's eyes. This isn't something you should see. Ah. I wanna see. Miliana whined, trying her best to catch a peek of Urza and Natsu's lip lock. So intense. Juvia thought with a glowing blush, as she clutched a hand over her heart. She couldn't help but cast a disappointed look at Gray. Juvia wishes Gray-sama would do something like that to her, but Juvia wouldn't mind if Natsu did it either, kawaii. Juvia's face felt so hot that she thought steam would start blowing out her ears, as she hid her face behind her hat. Juvia must not think such indecent thoughts. I'm so happy for you too. Lucy said with a bright smile, clapping her hands together. Now we can all be happy together. When both mages broke their lip lock, Urza once again lovingly pressed her forehead against Natsu's. I love you, Natsu Dragneel, you're the only man in my heart now. And I love you, Urza Scarlet. Natsu said with a toothy grin, before he gave Urza a quick peck on the lips. You may not be the only girl in my heart. Natsu cast quick glances at Lucy and Juvia. But I promise that I'll give you all the love and attention you could ever desire. That's all I ask for. Urza said with a smile of her own, pulling Natsu in for a tight hug. Alright lovebirds, we should probably get back to the resort. Gray suggested, as he helped both Natsu and Urza onto their feet. You two are really banged up, and we need to get those wounds treated. 2 days later, Akane Resort. Is he really okay? Gray asked, quirking an eyebrow as he watched Natsu snore loudly on his bed. The dual dragon slayer was covered from head to toe in bandages. I mean, the bastard has been sleeping for almost 2 days straight. Oh, just let him get his rest, Gray. Lucy said, as she ran her fingers through Natsu's hair. The blonde celestial spirit mage smiled down at Natsu, his head resting in her lap. He's been through a lot and he was pretty banged up. Yeah, Gray, he needs his rest to help him recover. Urza said, walking up to the bed and sitting down next to Lucy. The scarlet-haired knight made a quick gesture, taking the hint. Lucy gently removed Natsu's head from her lap and allowed Urza to take her place. Lucy would have loved to stay in the same position all day, but with what had happened a few days earlier, she figured Urza deserved to spend as much time with Natsu as possible. Urza placed a gentle kiss on Natsu's forehead, before she started to rake her fingers through his hair. Not that Natsu can really help it, but what he did was almost equivalent to eating poison, although he does appear to be recovering rather quickly. Most of his wounds are healed and his bandages can probably be removed later today. That's right, Gray said, as he rested his head on his hand. You said Flame Brain ate Aetherion, right? Then was able to fuse his fire and lightning magic together. Man, he gets more and more like a monster every day? Hush, Gray. Urza scolded, slightly glaring at the Ice Mage, before she released a light sigh. I've caused so much trouble for all of you guys, I really don't know what to say. Relax, Urza, Lucy said, as she placed her hand on top of Urza's. You've been saying that constantly the past 2 days. No one blames you for what happened, and we were all happy to help. I'm just glad you and Natsu made it back okay. Thanks, Lucy, Urza said, smiling at the busty blonde. I can understand why Natsu fell in love with you. You're such a kind person and you have a big heart. Thanks, Urza, Lucy muttered, as her face flushed red in embarrassment. But I'm not the only one Natsu loves. I know, it will be sort of strange at first. But I'm sure we'll make it work somehow, Urza said, giving Lucy's hand a quick squeeze. To be honest, I'm kind of excited to see where this relationship will go. Lucy smiled and nodded her head in agreement. Hey, I just noticed something, where's Juvia? Oh, she left already, Gray replied, as he scratched the back of his head. She seemed a little disappointed that she didn't get to say goodbye to Natsu, but she wanted to join Fairy Tail as soon as possible. This morning she took off so that she could talk with Ji-chan. I see, I want to thank her personally for all of her help, Urza said, brushing a few scarlet locks out of her eyes. Say, Urza, Gray said, as he examined the various bandages on Urza's own body. Shouldn't you be getting some rest too? Don't, Gray. I didn't take enough damage to actually worry about. In fact, Urza said, unwrapping the bandages around her arms. She smiled when she saw that the cuts on her arms were mostly healed already. Most of my wounds are healed. Although to be fair, my body should have been broken down at the molecular level inside that Aetherion vortex. Damn, Gray muttered, as he sweat dropped. Then I guess it really is a miracle you survived. In truth, I really don't know what happened in there, Urza thought, smiling down at the sleeping dragon slayer in her lap. But I do know that you did something truly amazing, Natsu, and that you saved me. I'm still alive because of you. Well, I guess that's just like you, Urza, Gray said, as he crossed his arms over his chest. Not like this dumbass who goes around eating poison and almost dying. The hell did you say, Gray? Natsu roared, shooting up out of Urza's lap and glaring fiercely at the Ice Mage. You wanna fucking go? Gray stuttered, caught off guard by Natsu's sudden exclamation. However, before Gray could think of a response, he felt something tug at his sleeve. Turning his head, Gray saw Lucy gesturing towards the door. Let's give them alone time, Lucy whispered, leaning closer to Gray. Why don't we get some lunch? I'll buy. Fine, Gray said, as he stood up from his seat. Oh, running away are you? Natsu exclaimed, causing Gray to stop in his tracks. I knew you were an Ice Queen, but I didn't know you were a chicken too. Gray balled his fists and the temperature in the room seemed to drop considerably. Hush now, Natsu, Urza scolded, as she lightly slapped the dragon slayer's shoulder. It's too early in the morning to fight, and we don't need you getting any more injuries. Now apologize to Gray. Natsu huffed and turned his head indignantly, crossing his arms over his chest. Natsu. Urza's tone was serious and caused the dragon slayer's tough facade to crack. Apologize. Now. I'm sorry, Gray, Natsu muttered, turning to face the Ice Mage. You could have done better, but it will have to do, Urza said, as she released a light sigh. Now come on, Gray, Lucy said, as she practically dragged the Ice Mage out of the room. However, Lucy stopped in the doorway and gave Urza a quick thumbs up and a wink. Urza blushed hotly as she realized that she was now completely alone with Natsu. The Dragon Slayer had moved from his spot and now sat on the edge of the bed. Deciding to make her move, Urza sat down next to Natsu. Urza placed her hand on top of Natsu's, interlocking their fingers. The scarlet-haired knight scooted closer to the dragon slayer, pressing her hip against his. They both stayed like this for several minutes, simply enjoying each other's company. Natsu began to blush as he inhaled Urza's sweet scent, which to no surprise was mainly strawberry with a hint of vanilla. In all the years Natsu had known Urza, they had never been this close before. Sure, they had hugged plenty of times, even held hands a few times. But nothing had been as intimate as this. The pink-haired dragon slayer could feel all his pent-up emotions starting to bubble to the surface. As Urza sat next to Natsu, she could feel her nervousness slowly rising. She had decided now was the perfect time to try and be intimate with Natsu, but she had no idea what to do. Sure, she's read dozens of erotic books before, but they didn't help her work up the courage to actually initiate things. As the minutes continued to tick by, Urza could feel the tension in the room steadily rising, the situation starting to feel awkward. Natsu could sense that Urza was starting to feel uneasy, so he decided that he needed to lead things. Urza was just about to bail on her plan and try again another time, but she was stopped when Natsu tightly squeezed her hand. Turning to face the dragon slayer, Urza locked eyes with Natsu. Then without warning, Natsu lunged forward and captured Urza's lips in a fiery kiss. Natsu gently pushed Urza onto her back and straddled her, keeping their lips locked the entire time. Urza was caught off guard by Natsu's sudden aggressiveness, but she quickly recovered and was doing her best to keep up with Natsu. Urza moaned softly as she combed her fingers through Natsu's hair, his tongue snaking into her mouth. Unlike with Lucy, Natsu had some experience now, so he decided to take charge and guide Urza. As Natsu continued to kiss Urza, he let his hands wander her beautiful body. Urza's body was quite similar to Lucy's in a lot of ways, however Urza's arms and legs were much more muscular than the blonde's. Natsu's hands gently massaged Urza's sides, slowly making their way lower. Urza moaned into their kiss, Natsu's hands leaving tingling trails of fire everywhere they touched. Soon Natsu's hands reached Urza's plump butt, something he would always try to sneak peeks of. The pink-haired dragon slayer couldn't resist squeezing Urza's firm ass, his fingers sinking into her cheeks, causing the scarlet-haired knight to let out a drawn-out moan. "Natsu, your hands feel amazing," Urza said breathlessly, breaking their lengthy lip lock. "Looks like your time with Lucy has really paid off. How many times have you done this with her anyways?" Urza quirked an eyebrow, as she watched Natsu actually have to stop and think about her question. "A lot." The scarlet-haired knight couldn't help but giggle at Natsu's response. "What can I say, I have a lot of stamina." "Well, I already knew you had tons of stamina," Urza said with a smirk, running her hand down Natsu's cheek. "I'm glad that it's good for something other than fighting." "Are you absolutely sure you want to do this, Urza?" Natsu asked, as he gazed into Urza's eyes. "I've waited years to do this with you, I don't mind waiting a little longer until you're ready." "Natsu," Urza said, cupping the pink-haired dragon slayer's cheeks. "I've been waiting a long time for this as well." The scarlet-haired knight pulled Natsu close and briefly kissed him. When they separated, Urza had a small smile on her face. "Now make love to me. I've been dying to hear those words," Natsu said with a smirk, as he threw off his shirt. Urza bit her bottom lip to suppress a moan when she saw Natsu's six-pack abs and rock-hard pecs. Not wanting to be left behind, Urza pulled off her blouse. She could have simply unequipped her clothing, but she figured it would be sexier to strip off her clothes piece by piece. Lifting her hips off the bed, Natsu helped Urza take off her skirt. Following Urza's lead, Natsu stripped off his baggy pants, both mages now down to their underwear. Natsu wore a simple pair of boxers, while Urza had on a matching set of lacy red lingerie. Natsu couldn't help but smirk when he saw the underwear. "You borrowed those from Lucy, didn't you?" "Well, we're pretty much the same size, and I thought they were really cute," Urza said quietly, her face bright red from being caught red-handed. "I think they look amazing on you," Natsu said, as he leaned closer to Urza, his hot breath sending shivers down her spine. "But I think you'd look even better without them on." Urza nodded her head and kneeled on the bed, reaching to unhook her bra. The scarlet-haired knight's face was the same color as her hair, as she slowly removed the bra. Now on the battlefield, Urza was as confident and determined as one could be, but in the bedroom she couldn't help but feel embarrassed as the bra's straps slid down her arms. Despite having read dozens of erotic novels, Urza couldn't get through one without blushing like a schoolgirl. Urza hesitated, holding her bra in place with her arms crossed over her chest. "Urza, you don't have to be embarrassed," Natsu said in soothing voice, as he placed a comforting hand on Urza's thigh. "I think you're one of the most beautiful women in the entire world and I will always love you. So you don't have to worry about anything, it's only you and me here." Natsu's words had the desired effect, as Urza started to feel more relaxed. Taking a deep breath to calm herself, Urza lowered her arms, letting her bra slide off. Just like with Lucy, Natsu found himself in awe of Urza's beautiful breasts. They weren't quite as big as Lucy's, but Natsu could hardly tell the difference. Urza's massive breasts were perfectly round and moved up and down with each breath she took, her hardened nipples showing how excited she was. Reaching a hand out, Natsu gave one of Urza's tits a quick squeeze, noticing that they were much firmer than Lucy's. Urza let out a low moan, as Natsu continued to massage her breasts, occasionally giving her nipples a quick pinch. Natsu stopped squeezing Urza's left breast, replacing his hand with his mouth, his other hand continuing to play with her other breast. The scarlet-haired knight moaned loudly and wrapped her arms around Natsu's head, pulling him deeper into her bountiful bosom. As Natsu continued to play with Urza's tits, a familiar, intoxicating scent filled his nostrils, drawing him lower. "And Natsu, why'd you stop?" Urza asked, moaning in disappointment when Natsu stopped massaging her breasts. However, she squeaked in surprise when Natsu began to massage her womanhood through her panties. "You're really excited, Urza," Natsu said, as he spotted the large wet patch on Urza's panties. Hooking his fingers into the red panties, Natsu slowly pulled them down Urza's toned legs. Urza's thighs were soaked with her juices, as Natsu moved towards her exposed womanhood. "Let me help you with this." "What are you ahhh?" Urza screamed in pleasure when Natsu's fingers dove into her wet folds. Having done this several times with Lucy before, Natsu knew exactly what to do. The pink-haired dragon slayer's tongue danced around Urza's clit, while his fingers drove in and out of her womanhood. The way Urza was tightly gripping his hair told Natsu that he was doing things right. "Fuck Natsu." Urza bit her bottom lip as she tightly closed her eyes, her mind focusing on nothing but the pleasure she was feeling. Switching things up, Natsu slid his tongue into Urza's womanhood and used his hand to play with her clitoris. Natsu's fiery tongue drove Urza crazy, quickly bringing her to her first orgasm. "Natsu!" Urza screamed her lover's name, as her body shook with pleasure. However, Natsu didn't stop there. Once Urza had come down from her orgasmic high, Natsu continued once again. "Shit!" The pink-haired dragon slayer returned to sucking on Urza's clit, while he fingered her. This time, however, Natsu's other free hand reached up to massage one of Urza's breasts. The sudden barrage of pleasure almost immediately brought Urza to another orgasm. "I'm coming." Urza's body once again convulsed, as jolts of pleasure ran through her body. "You taste great, Urza," Natsu said with a smirk, as he licked Urza's juices off his fingers. "And Natsu," Urza panted out, sitting back up. "Take your boxers off, now." Natsu wasted no time complying with Urza's order. Quickly throwing his boxers across the room, Natsu presented his erect manhood to Urza. The scarlet-haired knight jaw hung open in awe, as she stared at Natsu's throbbing cock. All the dirty books she had read could not have prepared her for the dragon that was in front of her. Gulping lightly, Urza reached out and gripped Natsu's shaft, which was hot to the touch and sent electrical tingles through her body. Natsu hissed in pleasure as Urza slowly stoked his manhood. "Your hands feel amazing, Urza," Natsu said, his moans further encouraging the scarlet-haired knight. "They're so soft. It's time I made him feel good," Urza thought, as she took a deep breath. Stealing her nerves, Urza wrapped her mouth around Natsu's cock. The dual dragon slayer let out a long moan, as Urza's mouth began to move up and down his shaft. "Urza's giving me a blowjob," Natsu thought, watching her head bob on his manhood, the sight alone almost enough to make him orgasm. Dream do come true. Like with Lucy, Urza had no experience doing this type of thing. But also like Lucy, the books and magazines Urza had read gave her a pretty good idea of what she needed to be doing. As Urza bobbed her head, she swirled her tongue around Natsu's shaft, focusing attention on his tip. Whatever Urza's mouth couldn't reach, she stroked with her hand. Natsu almost came when he felt Urza's soft hands massage his balls. It took all of Natsu's willpower to fight off his orgasm, wanting this sensation to last as long as possible. But Natsu knew that he wasn't going to hold out much longer. Urza felt Natsu's cock begin to twitch in her mouth, as he began to thrust his hips slightly. Knowing what was about to come, Urza sped up. With a loud grunt, Natsu poured his seed into Urza's mouth. The scarlet-haired knight lapped up all of Natsu's semen, savoring the taste as it slid down her throat. That was pretty tasty," Urza commented, as she licked her lips. "I'll have to try some more later. However, I want to get to the main event." Now fully into it, and very horny, Urza was much more confident than when they first started. Spinning around on the bed, Urza got on all fours and presented herself to her lover. "I'm ready whenever you are, Natsu. I want us to become one." The pink-haired dragon slayer knew this was something that both of them wanted, so he quickly moved behind Urza and grabbed a hold of her hips. Stroking his cock back to life, Natsu teased his manhood across Urza's folds several times, slicking it with her juices. Then Natsu slowly slid inside Urza, both of them moaning at the sensation. The dual dragon slayer stayed still for a few moments, so that Urza could get used to his size. Urza was amazed at how much Natsu filled her. She was also surprised at the lack of pain she was feeling. Sure, she felt a slight discomfort, but that was quickly fading away. Urza had always read how painful a woman's first time was, but she wasn't feeling anything like that. But instead Urza was filled with an overwhelming feeling of happiness. After all these years, she was finally one with the man she loved, and she wasn't going to let him go, no matter what. Once the discomfort had passed, Urza rocked her hips, moaning as pleasure shot through her body. "You can move now, Natsu," Urza said in a husky tone, as she began to roll her hips. "Okay, I'm gonna start moving," Natsu said, slowly thrusting in and out of Urza's dripping womanhood. Urza's back arched as her body became racked with pleasure. Natsu's grip on Urza's hips tightened, as he began to pound into her faster. Fuck me harder, Natsu. Please," Urza exclaimed, as she met Natsu's thrusts with her own. The scarlet-haired yelped in surprise when Natsu grabbed a hold of her breasts and pressed her back against his chest. Natsu's thrusts became even stronger, causing Urza to scream out in pleasure. As Natsu continued to pound into Urza and play with her tits, he trailed fiery kiss along her neck and shoulder, sucking on the smooth and delicate flesh. "You're amazing, Natsu. Don't stop." Urza could feel her third orgasm quickly approaching, but before she could reach her peak, she felt Natsu pull out of her. Just when Urza was about to complain, she was flipped onto her back, with Natsu positioning himself between her thighs. Then without hesitation, Natsu thrust himself back into Urza's pussy. "Yes." Natsu lunged forward and captured Urza's lips in a lust-filled kiss. Urza wrapped her arms around Natsu's neck to deepen their kiss. Natsu's hands tightly gripped Urza's waist, as he continued to powerfully thrust into her. The scarlet-haired knight broke their kiss to let out a loud moan. Urza's moans drove Natsu, who wished to hear the sweet sounds even more. Natsu lowered his hand and began to suck on Urza's erect nipples. The scarlet-haired knight tangled her fingers in Natsu's hair, and held him close to her chest. After several more minutes of intense lovemaking, Natsu could feel his own orgasm approaching. "Urza!" Natsu grunted out, as his thrusts became even harder and faster. "I'm gonna come." "I'm close too," Urza exclaimed, rocking her hips in time with Natsu's thrust. "I want you to come inside me, Natsu. Don't hold back. It is time. Place your mark upon her. Claim her as your mate." Just as Natsu reached his orgasm, he leaned forward and sunk his teeth into the crook of Urza's neck, pushing some of his magic into her body. The scarlet-haired knight screamed out in pleasure, as Natsu's magic flooded her body.
All these amazing sensations sent Urza over the edge into her own orgasm. Urza held onto Natsu tightly, as his whole body shook.
After a few minutes both their orgasms subsided and Natsu released Urza's neck, some of her blood still dripping from his fangs. Natsu then slowly pulled out Urza, causing her to moan in disappointment, a mixture of their juices dripping onto the bed.
"Welcome to the family, Urza,"
Natsu said, as he placed a gentle kiss on Urza's forehead.
Urza's eyes widened as she let Natsu's words sink in.
However, Natsu was worried when he heard Urza start sniffling. Turning his head, Natsu was shocked to see that Urza was crying.
"What's wrong, Urza? Why are you crying?" "I'm fine, Natsu,"
Urza said with a smile, wiping away her tears.
"I'm crying because I'm happy, and I'm happy because of what you just said. We really are like a family now. You, Lucy, and I, we're all bonded together."
Urza reached up and touched where Natsu had bitten her. The skin was still a little tender, but Urza could feel an incredible heat emanating from the bite mark. Reaching onto a nearby nightstand, Urza grabbed the small hand mirror.
Urza positioned the mirror so that she could view where Natsu had bitten her.
The scarlet-haired knight smiled brightly when she saw the same mark Lucy had already beginning to form where she had been bitten.
"Whoa, Urza, your hair," Natsu pointed out, as he gently grabbed a handful of Urza's hair.
Now not so, scarlet-haired knight was pleasantly surprised to see that she now had several streaks of pink mixed among her scarlet locks. "I never knew how sexy you could look with some pink in your hair."
"I'm sexy, eh?"
Urza said in lustful tone, pushing Natsu onto his back and straddling his waist. "We still have some time, so why don't you show this sexy girl a good time?" Natsu moaned lightly, as Urza began to stroke his manhood.
"This knight needs her dragon." That was all the encouragement Natsu needed.
He tightly gripped her hips and lined his cock up with her pussy. Then with a powerful thrust, Natsu sheathed himself inside Urza once again. The dragon needed to show the knight who was truly in charge.
Chapter 30, This Isn't Goodbye. 2 hours later, beach outside Akane Resort. So yeah, we're real sorry about everything that happened, Urza," Wally said, rubbing the back of his head in embarrassment.
"We should have never believed those lies Jalal was telling us."
"I'm sorry too, Erchan,"
Miliana muttered sheepishly, as she hung her head in shame.
"I knew you'd never abandon us like that."
"No, I'm the one who should be apologizing to you guys," Urza said, tightly balling her fists in self-loathing. "I'm the stupid girl who didn't help her friends for 8 whole years." "Yeah, but you were being threatened by Jalal," Sho reasoned, as he tried to raise Urza's spirits. "You were forced to stay away from us, to protect us from him."
"I can't keep using excuses like that anymore,"
Urza said in a saddened tone, rubbing her arm as she stared down at her feet. "If only I had thought of something sooner, then Simon dash." "You can't blame yourself for what happened to Simon, Nasan," Sho exclaimed, as he took a step towards Urza.
"He was just dash. I understand how he felt."
Urza cut Sho off, holding up her hand to stop his advance.
"I know how all of you must have felt."
A single tear rolled down Urza's cheeks. The scarlet-haired knight took a calming breath and wiped the tears from her face.
"But we have no other option but to keep moving forward.
Into the future that Simon helped secure for us."
"Yeah, you're right, Nasan,"
Sho muttered, as a sad smile spread across his face.
"Simon wouldn't want us mourning him forever. It's so sad, but..."
Miliana said, crossing her arms behind her back.
"Simon will always be with us, in our hearts."
"I have to believe in that, or I wouldn't be able to live with myself, son of bitch," Wally struggled to say, as he took off his hat in respect, tears falling from his eyes.
"I mean, what was the point of all this? We have to turn the past into the future and keep on moving forward,"
Urza said, rubbing the mate mark on her shoulder, feeling a comforting warmth spread through her body.
"And the step we all take today will be the one that leads us to tomorrow." "The step we take today, eh?"
Wally parroted, as he put his hat back on and wiped away his tears.
"What are we going to do now?" Miliana asked no in particular, releasing a heavy sigh.
If you all have nowhere else to go, you can come with us back to Fairy Tale and join our guild, Urza said, which caused all of her old Nakama's eyes to widen in shock.
I'm sure you'd all be welcome there with open arms. I mean, we're not ones to really hold grudges.
A soft smile spread across Urza's face as she extended her hand towards her old Nakama. I know it's not the same as the freedom that you guys were searching for all these years, but freedom is something that is very plentiful in Fairy Tale.
I think you'd all really like it there. Hey, that salamander kid was saying the same thing. Wally exclaimed, turning to face Miliana. It's the most exciting guild in the world.
Miliana cheered with a large smile on her face. Plus, I'd love to be able to stay with you guys forever, Urza added, as she ran her fingers through her pink and scarlet locks. When the scarlet-haired knight spoke next, she muttered underneath her breath.
Especially since I have some wonderful news to tell you all. I'm finally with the man that I love. You've changed, Natsu. Sho thought, staring at Urza with curiosity, before a small smile spread across his face.
You seem stronger somehow.
Now then. Urza got everyone's attention as she clapped her hands together. Why don't we all head back now?
I've got to properly introduce you all to Natsu and my other Nakama. You can introduce me as the world's dandiest man,
Wally tried to say in a cool voice, adjusting his sunglasses. I want to be best friends with Happy.
Miliana cheered as she ran up to Urza and hugged her arm.
Will you introduce me to him, Air-chan?
I want to start fresh with him.
Of course, Miliana.
Urza said with a smile, ruffling Miliana's hair, much to her annoyance.
Hey Natsu, there's something that I've been thinking about,
Sho said, as he followed closely behind Urza, his head cocked to the side in confusion.
What's up, Sho?
Urza asked, turning around to face the young man.
I was just wondering,
Sho said, as he scratched his chin.
What's up with your hair? That night, Lucy's room at the Akane resort. Natsu, your hands are amazing,
Lucy moaned, releasing a long, happy sigh. The blonde celestial spirit mage was currently laying on her stomach, with Natsu straddling her hips. The dragon slayer's hands were hard at work massaging Lucy's back, his warm hands soothing her tight and aching muscles. I could stay like this forever.
Maybe you could reward me for helping you relax and unwind,
Natsu whispered, as he gently nibbled on her ear.
Keep this up and you just might get your wish,
Lucy said with a smirk, turning her head to give Natsu a quick kiss.
Lucy. Both mages were shocked when Urza suddenly burst into the blonde's room.
The scarlet-haired knight immediately stopped in her tracks when she saw the position Natsu and Lucy were in, her face tinting the same color as her hair.
Sorry to interrupt.
Embarrassed about interrupting Natsu and Lucy during their intimate moment, Urza ran back into the hallway, slamming the door behind her.
Urza! Come back! Natsu was just giving me a massage,
Lucy exclaimed, as she hopped of the bed and ran to the door.
Throwing the door open, Lucy found Urza standing there sheepishly.
Releasing a light sigh, Lucy tugged Urza back into the room.
It's fine, Urza. I promise you weren't interrupting anything.
My back was sore and Natsu offered to give me a massage.
I understand,
Urza muttered, rubbing her arm nervously. I still should have knocked though.
I mean, what if you two were being intimate?
So? Natsu asked with a shrug of his shoulders, as he slid off the bed and walked over to Urza and Lucy. The scarlet-haired knight was taken aback when Natsu suddenly wrapped his arm around her waist, pulling her close and gave her a passionate kiss. The kiss caught Urza off guard, but she quickly recovered and started to kiss Natsu back. When the two mages eventually broke their lip lock, Urza was panting slightly and her face bright red. You, Lucy, and I are together now, we're a family.
So you can't be getting embarrassed if you see us being intimate. Hell, you could even join us if you wanted.
I don't think I'm ready for that yet, Urza said quietly, her face turning several shades darker.
But I will try to work on not getting worked up when I see you together with other girls. It's just going to take a little getting used to. Take as long as you need, Urza,
Natsu said with a smile, as he placed a loving kiss on Urza's forehead.
I'm not gonna force you to do anything you're not comfortable with. By the way, Urza.
Lucy chimed in, getting the scarlet-haired knight's attention.
What did you want? You seemed pretty worked up when you first burst in here.
Oh, that's right. Urza exclaimed, as her eyes widened considerably.
Have either of you seen Sho or the other? I haven't seen any of them since we all ate dinner together.
Lucy replied, tapping her chin as she thought.
What about you, Natsu? I haven't seen them in a while either. Natsu said, as he shook his head.
I did see that Miliana girl playing with Happy earlier, but I haven't seen her since then. They were supposed to be staying at this hotel as well, but I can find them anywhere.
Urza said, nervously biting her bottom lip. Where could they have gone? Even after we said we should all check out tomorrow and head to Guild together.
Lucy said, as she crossed her arms underneath her chest. That's very strange.
You don't they ran off without telling anyone? I don't know. Urza replied, releasing a heavy sigh. Why don't you see if you can pick up their scents? Natsu asked, as he tapped his nose.
Your sense of smell should be almost on par with mine now, and you will know their scents better than Lucy or I.
That's not a bad idea. Urza said, staring at Natsu in shock. Good thinking, Natsu. I'm not a total idiot. Natsu said with a smirk, as he leaned against a nearby wall.
I do get a good idea from time to time.
Well, here goes nothing.
Urza said, taking a calming breath, before she began to sniff the air in search of her old nakama's scents. After several moments, Urza seemed to catch her friend's scents. But Lucy and Natsu were surprised to see that Urza seemed more upset than relieved. Releasing a heavy sigh, Urza suddenly hung her head.
I see. What's up, Urza? Did you find your friends?
Lucy asked, as she placed a hand on Urza's shoulder.
If you did, we should probably go after them. There's no reason for you guys to be apart.
Thank you, Lucy, but they've made their decision. Urza said, softly smiling at the blonde celestial spirit and gently shaking off her hand. A sad look spread across Lucy's face, before she nodded her head in understanding.
Natsu, please find Gray and get some fireworks ready. Urza then turned to leave the room. Meet me down at the beach in 20 minutes.
Wait, Urza. Lucy called out, but the scarlet-haired knight had already left.
Fireworks? What's she talking about, Natsu? Come on, Luce.
Natsu said, grabbing a hold of Lucy's hand and leading her out of the room.
We're gonna need your help as well. 5 minutes later, town just outside Akane Resort. The outside world truly is exciting.
Sho said, as he stared at the crowds of happy and laughing people around him. All these people are just walking around, even though it's nighttime.
Oi!
A sudden commotion caused Sho to turn around, where he spotted Miliana being yelled at by the owner of one of the many stalls.
What the hell do you think you're doing?
You little.
What's Miliana gotten herself into now? Sho muttered, releasing a light sigh as he walked over towards the catgirl. Huh?
Miliana asked, as she cocked her head in confusion, taking a bite of a chocolate-covered banana.
Did I do something wrong? You can't just eat that banana. The stall owner yelled, slamming his fist onto the countertop. Why?
A bunch of them were just sitting here, so I thought I'd eat one, that's all.
Miliana said, now more confused than ever.
They looked really delicious. I will thank you for complimenting my cooking, but those are for sale. The stall shouted, as a vein bulged on his forehead.
You can't just go around eating them because you feel like it.
For sale? Miliana repeated in a confused tone, quirking an eyebrow.
What's that mean?
I don't know what's going on here, but if these things are yours, you shouldn't just leave them out for everyone to see.
Wally said, as he stood next to Miliana protectively. That doesn't seem too smart to me. Alright, I've had enough. Will the both of you shut the hell up? The stall owner roared, slamming his fist onto the counter repeatedly. Now pay up. Give me the money you owe me. Hey Wally, what's money?
Miliana asked, as she turned to the blockhead man.
Oh, money, that's,
Wally stuttered, trying his best to think of something to say, before turning to the stall owner. Help me out here, man.
I've never actually heard of this money thing before. Oh. Trying to pull a fast one on me, are you?
The stall owner yelled as he wagged his finger.
Well, you better give it up. Hand it over. Pay me now, damn it.
This way.
Sho exclaimed, grabbing a hold of Miliana's hand and pulling her into a nearby crowd of people. Wally, Miliana. Follow me. Naya. Hold on, Sho. Miliana yelped, as she struggled to keep up with Sho pace. Oi, Sho. What the hell is money anyways? Wally asked, running behind Miliana. Forget about that for now, Wally.
Sho yelled, as he spotted the stall owner chasing after them.
We have to move.
Hold it, you little bastards. The stall owner roared, sprinting after the thieves.
Hold it. He's coming after us. Miliana shouted, extending her hand towards the stall owner.
I'll use my magic dash.
No.
Sho exclaimed, as he slapped Miliana's hand. Since we're living in the outside world now, we can't just use magic to solve all our problems.
20 minutes later, beach south of Akane Resort. Do you think we'll really be able to survive in the outside world?
Wally asked, sitting on the edge of the small boat that Sho was preparing. Behind Wally was Miliana, who was hugging her knees as she sat inside the boat. The cat girl had a sad look on her face, as she buried her head into her knees.
That little incident earlier wasn't a very good sign. It doesn't matter whether we can or not. We have to. Wally exclaimed in a frustrated tone, untying the boat from a nearby post.
We can't stay here and cause any more trouble for Natsu in Fairy Tale. Both Wally and Miliana nodded in agreement, and seemed to perk up just a little.
Now let's get out of here. We've got to go before Natsu and the others realize we're gone. You're right. We'll make it somehow. Wally said with a smirk, as he helped Sho push the boat out to sea. Let's do our best. Miliana cheered, pumping her fist into the air.
Hold it right there. A familiar voice caused Sho, Wally, and Miliana to freeze in place. Turning around, the three of them were shocked to see Urza walking towards them. The scarlet-haired knight had a stern look on her face as she approached the trio.
And Natsu, Sho said, as he gulped audibly. If you're going to try and stop us, don't bother. Wally exclaimed, trying his best to act tough in front of Urza.
We've made up our minds, and we're not backing down now. We lived our entire lives inside the damn tower, now we're trying to take our first steps in the outside world. Sho said, as he avoided Urza's gaze and tightly balled his fists. Sure, there are so many things we don't know, things that we're scared about, but we want to see what the world has to offer with our own eyes. We don't want to keep relying on you or anyone else our entire lives, and we don't want to live for anyone else's sake either. We want to live our lives ourselves, to find the things that we really want to do. Taking a calming breath, Sho raised his head and smiled at Urza. That's the freedom we've been searching for all these years. With a strong and unwavering will like that, you all can accomplish anything you set your hearts to. Urza said with a small smile, clutching a hand over her aching heart.
Although I'm still sad, I'm also quite relieved now.
Urza's old nakama were surprised when her body was suddenly bathed in a bright white light. However, I have 3 rules that I am honor-bound to tell anyone leaving Fairy Tale. So you 3 better listen well, because I won't repeat myself. When the light encompassing Urza died down, she dressed in a new armor. The breastplate was fairly plain, with the waistguard attached to it being similar to the one in Urza's new Heart Cruise armor, composed of simply 2 hanging plates, paired with a ruffled cloth sprouting from under it over some chainmail, all of which surmounted a long skirt, reaching down to Urza's knees and covering the rather featureless greaves. The gauntlets, covered the entirety of her arms, are similarly unadorned with only her pauldrons, composed of overlapping plates, having some decorations over the upper plates.
Hold up, leaving?
Wally parroted in a confused tone, as he quirked an eyebrow.
We never joined in the first place. 1.
Urza exclaimed, getting everyone's attention as she slammed a staff adorning fairy tales flag into the ground. You must never, under any circumstance, reveal any sensitive information about fairy tale to outsiders, as long as you live.
2.
You must never use the clients you met through the guild to achieve personal gain. Everyone's serious facade was broken when Urza momentarily stopped to choke back a sob. The scarlet-haired knight took a shaky breath to calm herself, as tears streamed down her cheeks.
Th3.
Though our paths may split, why you must live out your lives to the fullest.
You must never consider your life insignificant.
By now Urza's old nakama were crying as well, all of them touched by the scarlet-haired knight's words.
And never forget the friends that you hold dear.
Briefly biting her lip to hold back another sob, Urza raised her staff high into the air.
Let the fairy tale send-off party begin.
You guys. Natsu cheered as he appeared behind Urza with Gray and Lucy beside him.
We'll totally see you again sometime.
A grin spread across Natsu's face as he pointed at Urza's old nakama. Make sure you all stop by Fairy Tale sometime and visit Urza.
She's gonna miss all you all.
The pink-haired dragon slayer then turned to face Lucy and Gray.
All right, you two. You know what to do. Let's light it up.
Natsu's pointed his head skyward as his cheeks bulged with magic. Moments later Natsu fired a volley of compact balls of lightning and fire dragon slayer magic into the air. Once the balls of magic were high in the sky, they exploded into brilliant flowers of orange flame and yellow lightning.
Let them blossom in your hearts. Urza exclaimed, watching as her old nakama stared at Natsu's fireworks in awe. These flowers of brilliant light. Let's not forget the ice as well.
Gray yelled as he fired several spears of ice into the air. Just like Natsu, when Gray's magic reached a certain height it burst outwards, forming large flowers made of ice, which thanks to Natsu's display seemed to glow in the night sky.
I'll even add in a celestial spirit version.
Lucy cheered, raising Aquarius key into the air and firing a ball of her magic. Once Lucy's magic had reached Natsu and Gray's, it exploded into a magnificent golden light.
To tell the truth, I would rather stay with you guys forever.
Urza said, as she stared at the beautiful display filling the night sky, tears still pouring from her eyes.
But that would mean holding you guys back, and I don't want to do that. I would rather just wish you well on your journey. That's not at all, Airchan.
Miliana struggled to say through her tears.
YUVE got it all wrong. Yeah, if we were around we'd just keep bringing up all those horrible memories for you.
Wally exclaimed, trying and failing to stop his own tears from falling.
No matter where you go in this world, I will never forget any of you.
Urza said, as she raised her staff into the air. And besides, those painful memories are what helped us reach tomorrow, and make us stronger. With tears still falling, Urza's old nakama boarded their small boat and began to sail away.
Walk tall.
And I too will keep walking tall, forever onwards. Natsu, Lucy, and Gray walked up next to Urza, joining her in seeing her old friends off.
Fairy Tale's flag waved proudly from atop Urza's staff, seeming to glow because of the fireworks that filled the night sky. As long as you don't forget this day, we will meet again. Farewell, my friends. You too, Nasan. And Fairy Tale too.
Sho shouted, as the boat began to drift farther and farther away.
Bye-bye, Airchan.
Miliana exclaimed, smiling through her tears, as she energetically waved to the Fairy Tale members.
We'll definitely meet again. That's a promise. Wally yelled, hiding his face behind his hat. It's a promise.
Urza whispered, as she wiped away her tears. The scarlet-haired knight managed to keep up her facade for a few moments longer, but as soon as the boat was out of sight she broke down. Urza immediately fell to her knees, burying her face into her hands as she sobbed uncontrollably. Natsu and Lucy were by the crying knight's side instantly.
I know it's hard to say goodbye to your friends, Urza. Natsu said sweetly, wrapping his around Urza's waist and pulling her close.
The dual dragon slayer's comforting warmth completely enveloped Urza, as he rested his head against hers.
But you did the right thing.
They need to find their own path in life.
Yeah, and you will see them again someday.
Lucy said, as she gently gripped Urza's trembling hand.
This goodbye isn't permanent. When you see them again, they'll have found success in whatever they set their hearts to. Natsu, Lucy.
Urza managed to say, locking eyes with both mages, as tears continued to stream down her cheeks. Suddenly Urza wrapped her arms around Natsu and Lucy's neck, and hugged their heads against her chest.
Thank you both, I don't know what I'd do without you two.
You don't need to thank us, Urza, Lucy said with a small smile, as she returned Urza's embrace.
Yeah, we'll always be there for you,
Natsu finished, grinning up at the scarlet-haired knight.
I just hope you'll be there for us as well.
Of course, Urza replied instantly, as she managed to smile through her tears.
We're family now, right? I guess we shouldn't interrupt them,
Gray muttered, rubbing the back of his head.
The ice mage then crouched down next to Happy. Why don't we give them some time alone, Happy? We can start packing or something.
Aye, sir. Happy cheered, as he followed Gray back to the resort.
Same time, unknown location. And so?
Altair said with a content sigh, sinking further into a relaxing bubble bath.
The council will no doubt have to take responsibility for their actions.
I don't believe they'll be able to operate normally for quite some time.
Hell, they might end up being disbanded completely.
Excellent work, Altair. A deep voice echoed from a nearby communication lacrima.
So, what was Jalal's fate? I could care less,
Altair replied with a smirk, running a hand over glistening skin.
As far as I know, he could have died.
Without ever realizing he was being manipulated by the woman he thought he was manipulating. What a disgraceful man.
Oh ho, don't say that,
Altair said with a smile, as she slipped out of the bathtub and wrapped a towel around her body. I did rather enjoy the assignment, and Jalal did look oh so adorable when he was plotting his scheme. Altair suddenly clutched a hand over her racing heart, as she recalled a certain pink-haired dragon slayer.
And of course that mission did introduce me to Natsu Dragneel. What a fascinating man.
After what I witnessed the power he displayed while fighting Jalal. Altair bit her bottom lip to suppress a moan as a pleasurable shudder ran down her spine.
I have to meet him again, I have to see that strength again. Altair?
Sorry about that, I got distracted for a moment, Altair lied, quickly tying her hair into a ponytail. Whatever, but I must say that despite you brainwashing Jalal, the plan proceeded beyond perfectly.
The conflict engulfing the council, the firing of Aetherion, all of it went according to plan. Indeed,
Altair said with a light sigh, as she sank down onto a nearby chair. Whilst Jalal was going on his little rampage, you were able to move about freely.
And as a result, one of the keys to the seal is finally mine. Oh, congratulations!
Altair cheered with mock enthusiasm, clapping her hands together. A smirk spread across the Time Mage's face, as she leaned back in the seat. So very sorry, Jalal-sama, but there was never any chance of you reviving Zirif. Actually, there is no chance of anybody bringing Zirif back from the dead. After all, Zirif was never dead in the first place.
He merely lies dormant at the moment.
That is quite true.
By the way, Altair.
Yes, what is it? Altair asked, as she cocked her head slightly.
You seem to be quite distracted as of later. Is there something on your mind? Not really,
Altair replied, a small smile spreading across her face. I just met a very interesting man while I was working with Jalal. I've just been thinking about him quite a lot lately.
It's that pink-haired dragon slayer from Makarov's bunch of brats, right? How did you dash?
Be careful, very careful, Altair, because you're treading on very dangerous ground right now. I would hate to find out you were cooperating with Fairy Tail, then I would have to eliminate you, and I would just hate to do that. Don't worry, I have no intention of helping those nuisances, Altair said, waving. She waved her hand dismissively.
That Natsu Dragneel just happened to catch my eye. There's nothing else to it.
Good, because I would hate to have to question your allegiance.
Well, we'll have to continue this another time. I must go. Bye-bye,
Altair said with a forced smile, as she waved to the lacrima crystal. Once the communication had been cut from spread across Altair's face.
TCH, stupid old man, who does he think he is questioning my loyalties like that?
Altair sighed as she gazed up at the bathroom ceiling.
I'm not gonna stop observing Natsu, but I will have to be more cautious from now on. The next morning, Magnolia Town.
Man, it feels to be good back home after that ordeal,
Gray said, shoving his hands into his pockets. Our nice vacation turned into a real shit show. Oh, it wasn't all bad,
Lucy said, as she glanced at Natsu and Urza out of the corner of her eye. The scarlet-haired knight was currently hugging Natsu's arm in between her impressive bust, and was resting her head against his shoulder. The two mages had been almost inseparable on the trip back to Magnolia, always touching each other in some way. Lucy had to admit that she was slightly upset that she didn't get to really spend any time with Natsu, but she knew that Urza deserved her time with the Dragon Slayer after everything they had been through. Although Lucy now knew that she wouldn't be the only one in Natsu's heart, she couldn't be happier for the new lovers. A soft smile spread across Lucy's face as she gazed at Natsu and Urza.
There was something good that came out of this trip.
Huh? What are you? Gray stopped when he saw where Lucy was looking. Despite their constant fighting and bickering, Gray did have to admit that he was happy for Natsu. He knew how much the Dragon Slayer loved Urza, and he could see that they were truly happy together. Although Gray did have his doubts about the whole being with multiple girls thing, he knew that if there was anyone who could pull it off, it was Natsu.
Yeah, I guess something good did happen. Guys! Look ahead! Happy exclaimed, frantically pointing towards something in front of them. The guild! It's...
What a surprise! Urza breathed out, as she stared at the restored building before them.
Holy shit!
Natsu yelled, gazing the brand new, massive guild hall right before his eyes.
They finished it already? It's huge!
Lucy breathed out, as she marveled at the towering guild hall.
Well, let's head inside, Gray said, leading the group inside the building.
Inside Fairy Tale's guild hall. Walking into guild hall, the Fairy Tale mages were met with a flurry of cheers and greetings from their fellow guild members. Natsu and the others simply stared in awe at the completely redesigned building, the Dragon Slayer taken aback by all the radical changes.
Hey! Welcome back, you guys! Did you enjoy your vacation? Bet you all were surprised. This is our brand new guild. Urza! What's up with your hair? What's up, Natsu?
You lost for words.
But, I mean, everything is just so different.
Natsu replied, staring dumbfounded at the massive open seating area in front of him.
It's completely changed. Well, yeah, we did totally rebuild the entire thing from scratch. So, we've got an open-air cafe now?
Gray asked no one in particular, as some guild members waved at him from a nearby table.
What? There's even a souvenir shop by the entrance.
Lucy exclaimed, running over to the small store.
Welcome!
Max cheered, as he waved everyone over.
Oh hey, it's you guy, welcome back.
Oh, you're running the shop, Max. Urza said, looking at all the various knick-knacks Max was selling.
You've got quite the selection here. Thanks,
Max said with a grin, as he rested his fists on his hips.
We've got Fairy Tale t-shirts, wristbands, mugs, towels and even special lacrima crystals.
Max's grin widened as he reached underneath the counter and pulled out several new trinkets. But our most popular items are definitely these Fairy Tale mage figurines.
They're 3,000 jewels a pop. Holy shit!
Natsu exclaimed with a childlike smile, grabbing a figure of himself.
Loose. Urza! I have my own fucking action figure. This is so cool. That's great, Natsu.
Lucy said with a sweat drop, as she smiled awkwardly.
Lucy! Lucy! Happy cheered, holding up a figurine of the blonde celestial spirit mage. There's even a figure of you. What?
Lucy yelled, as she snatched the small toy.
Don't just go making stuff like this without my permission. It's so embarrassing.
A light blush spread across Lucy's face as she inspected the figure.
Well, I guess they did do a good job, it's really well crafted.
Lucy quirked an eyebrow when she spotted a small button on the base of the figure.
Huh, what's this do?
When Lucy pressed the button, her eyes shot open when all the figurines' clothing suddenly popped off.
What the hell is this?
All the clothing is removable, naturally, Max said with a smirk.
Kya!
Lucy screamed, hiding her neon red face in her hands.
Max? Natsu asked in a menacing tone, as the figure he was holding melted in his hand.
Yeah, Max stopped dead in his tracks when he saw the enraged look in Natsu's eyes. A shiver ran down Max's spine, as Natsu seemed to loom over him.
What is it, Natsu? You said the clothes are removable on the Lucy figures, does that apply for the Urza and Mira ones too? Natsu asked, tightly gripping the front of Max's shirt and pulling him close. Because if they are, we're gonna have a real problem. And now that you mention it,
Max said in a panic, as he rushed to grab all the Lucy, Urza, and Mira Jane figures that he had.
I just remembered that all these figures are defective. Yeah, that's it. Of course their clothes are supposed to stay on. Stupid manufacturing error. I'll go sort this out right now.
Loading all the figures into a box, Max bolted out of the guild as fast as he could.
I better not see anything like that again. Natsu growled, crossing his arms over his chest in irritation. You didn't have to do that, Natsu.
Lucy lightly scolded, before a small smile spread across her face.
After making sure that no one was looking, Lucy placed a quick kiss on Natsu's cheek. But thank you for looking out for me.
I just couldn't stand the thought of some perv ogling you, even if it's just a figure. Natsu muttered, his cheeks turning slightly pink.
You and Urza are my girls after all. Oh, you're so cute when you're like this.
Lucy teased, as she discreetly gave Natsu's hand a reassuring squeeze.
But you don't have to worry about that, Urza and I love you with all our hearts. Oh, you guys are finally back. Kana cheered with a wide grin, waving the returning mages over.
You've got to check this out. When Natsu and the others walked over, they were shocked to see the massive, redesigned main room.
Whoa! It's amazing!
Lucy exclaimed, clapping her hands together as she gazed at dozens of packed tables in front of her.
It's completely new. Yes, it's quite impressive.
Urza said, as she nodded her head in agreement.
Oi, what's up, Natsu?
Gray asked, noticing that the Dragon Slayer appeared to be in a rather sullen mood.
TCH, it's not like it used to be.
Natsu muttered in response, as he hid most of his face behind his scarf.
Everything is all different. And that's not the only new thing we've got. Kana said, pointing towards a door besides the bar. Out we've got a pool.
The smirking brunette then gestured to a set of stairs leading down below the guild's main room.
Downstairs there's a game room. Kana then pointed towards the guild's second floor.
But perhaps the biggest change of all is the second floor.
Anybody is allowed up there now. Wah! We can finally go up on the second floor now?
Lucy exclaimed, as she clasped her hands together.
You got it. Kana replied with a wink. So you brats are finally back?
Everyone turned to see Makarov walking towards them. However, they weren't expecting to see the second person standing beside Fairy Tale's master.
With a large grin, Makarov gestured to the blue-haired woman. This is our newest Juvia. Cute, ain't she? It's great to see you all again.
Juvia said with a bright smile.
Especially Natsu and Gray-sama.
The blue-haired water mage's appearance had changed quite drastically since Natsu and the others had last seen her.
Juvia now wore a much more revealing blue and white dress that went down to her knees.
She also white boots and gloves with blue trimming.
But the biggest change to Juvia's appearance had to be her hair.
She still wore a hat atop her hair, which was also new, but her hair was now radically shorter, barely reaching down to her shoulders now.
Ha ha! So you really did join our guild. Gray laughed, rubbing the back of his head.
Great,
I have a feeling things are gonna get a lot more annoying around here now. So.
Juvia muttered, as she suddenly became very flustered and embarrassed.
How does Juvia look?
Huh? Gray said, quirking an eyebrow in confusion.
You look fine, I guess.
The Ice Mage's response caused Juvia to deflate instantly, her shoulders sagging as she hung her head. Seeing Juvia upset caused Natsu to frown in annoyance, as he walked over and slapped Gray upside the head.
Ow.
What the hell was that for flame brain?
I think you look beautiful, Juvia, Natsu said, as he completely ignored the Ice Mage. The dual dragon slayer strolled over and gently ran his fingers through Juvia's ocean blue locks. That's a really cute dress and I love what you did with your hair. Really?
Juvia squeaked out, a bright blush spreading across her face as she began to fidget slightly.
You really think Juvia looks pretty?
Of course. Natsu exclaimed with a toothy grin, as he rested his fists on his hips. Although I personally prefer your hair longer, but you still looks great with it short.
So Natsu prefers Juvia's hair longer. Juvia thought, winding a few ocean blue locks around her finger. Maybe Juvia will grow it out again soon.
Oh Juvia, I missed my chance when we were back at the resort, Urza said, as she walked up to the water mage. But thank you for all your help back in the Tower of Heaven.
Lucy told me that she would have been a goner without you.
That's not true, Lucy-san is a very capable mage and could have handled herself, but Juvia is happy to hear that she was helpful, Juvia said, clutching a hand over her heart.
Besides, Juvia is the one who should be thanking all of you.
Juvia will do her best to help Fairy Tail.
That's great to hear, Juvia.
Lucy cheered with a bright smile. Oi Flame Brain, you still have answered me, Gray yelled, as he grabbed a hold of the Dragon Slayer's shoulder.
Why the hell did you hit me? God, and people think I'm dense, Natsu muttered, shaking his head in disappointment.
The Dragon Slayer then turned to Gray with eyes full of irritation. Juvia obviously wanted you to compliment her, you idiot, and she was really let down when you didn't.
Why do you care if compliment Juvia or not? Gray asked, as he quirked an eyebrow.
Because I hate seeing that sad look on Juvia's face and I want her to be happy, Natsu said, before he got right in Gray's face. You better watch yourself around Juvia, Ice Princess, because if you ever make her cry I won't forgive you. The dual Dragon Slayer locked eyes with Gray for several moments, his eyes full of fire. Gray knew that Natsu wasn't going to back down, and the Ice Mage wasn't really looking for an argument right now, so he decided to keep his mouth shut. After several more moments, Natsu spun around and walked back over to Lucy and the others.
Geez, what's his problem?
Gray asked himself, rubbing the back of his head as she slowly followed behind Natsu.
Stupid Gray, why doesn't realize what a great girl Juvia is? Natsu thought, as he tightly balled his fists, feeling an ache in his chest.
I swear if he ever hurts her.
Remember that you must be patient. You cannot force your feelings upon the blue-haired water mage. You will win her over in due time. Good things come to those who wait. TCH, I know, Natsu thought, a small frown forming on his face. Doesn't mean I have to like it though. Well, I'm happy to see that you are all getting along well with Juvia, Makarov said, as he nodded his head, clasping his hands behind his back.
Please make sure she feels welcome here. Oh, I almost forgot, there's one more new member I'd like you to meet.
Makarov turned to a rather imposing figure with their back to them. Oi! Get over here and introduce yourself. Another new member? Urza asked, quirking an eyebrow. Well, isn't this a surprise?
However, Urza and everyone else's eyes widened when the figure spun around in their seat, revealing the Iron Dragon Slayer Gajeel.
What? You're kidding me, right?
Gray exclaimed, as he slid into a fighting stance.
Master! This has to be some kind of joke, right? Wait.
Juvia met up with Gajeel-kun on her way here and brought him with her, Juvia yelled, trying her best to diffuse the tension that had risen in the room. Juvia is one thing, but this guy is the one who destroyed our guild. Urza said in a low tone, her eyes narrowing dangerously.
That can't be forgiven. Now, brats.
Makarov said, as he walked in between Urza and Gadjil. He was only acting upon Jose's orders back then, he had no real choice. You know the old saying, yesterday's enemies are today's friends.
I don't really mind.
Levy said in a shaky voice, poking her out from behind a pillar.
The petite blue-haired girl was flanked on both sides by Jet and Droy. Both men had menacing looks as they glared at Gadjil. Levy-chan.
Lucy muttered, as she discreetly released a light sigh. She still must be pretty shaken up over what happened. The tension between the fairy tale mages and Gadjil didn't appear to be fading anytime soon, all of them ready to attack at a moment's notice. However, everything seemed to stop when Natsu made his way over to Gadjil. The dual dragon slayer stopped right in front of Gadjil and locked eyes with the menacing man. Everyone held their breath as Natsu continued to hold the Iron Dragon Slayer's gaze.
And Natsu, please don't fight with Gadjil-kun.
Juvia said meekly, walking over to the pink-haired dragon slayer. Juvia is the one. Natsu cut off the water mage by holding out his hand. Everyone expected Natsu to try and punch Gadjil, or at least yell at him, but no one was prepared for what the pink-haired dragon slayer actually did. With a toothy grin, Natsu extended his hand out to Gadjil. Looks like you took my advice after all.
Welcome to Fairy Tale Man.
Ha? Gadjil said, completely taken aback by the pink-haired dragon slayer's words.
What are you trying to pull, Salamander?
I'm not trying to pull anything, I'm just happy there's another dragon slayer in the guild.
Natsu said, suddenly grabbing a hold of Gadjil's hand and shaking it. You remember what I said after we fought?
Sure, I can't really forgive you for hurting Luce and my Nakama, but I don't hate you, Gadjil.
You didn't have to say anything, because I figured it out while we were fighting.
You're actually a pretty good guy, but you were being manipulated by that bastard Jose. Plus you gave me the toughest fight in my entire life, so you've earned my respect. The Iron Dragon Slayer was so stunned by Natsu's actions that he simply stared at the dual Dragon Slayer in shock.
I would actually like us to be friends. We Dragon Slayers need to stick together, you know? Natsu, thank you for accepting Gadjil-kun.
Juvia thought, as she felt tears sting the corners of her eyes.
TCH, don't think you can win me over with your sweet words.
Gadjil said in irritated tone, which Natsu could tell was fake, as he crossed his arms over his chest.
I didn't join this guild because you wanted me to.
I needed work, that's all there is to it. Any guild would have sufficed.
We'll see about that.
Natsu said, grin never leaving his face.
Hey, maybe we could go on a job together sometime. I have a feeling we'd make a really kick-ass team.
Forget it, there's no way I'm ever working with you. Gadjil said, as he turned around and sat back in his seat. Why the hell did you even bring the bastard here? Gray asked in an annoyed tone, slightly glaring at Juvia. He'll be nothing but trouble. Well, Gadjil-kun is always by himself and he seems so lonely, Juvia simply couldn't bear to leave him behind. Juvia replied, as she fidgeted underneath Gray's piercing gaze.
I mean it's not Juvia likes him or anything.
Whatever, not like I really care anyways. Gray said, shoving his hands in his pockets and walking away. It is the duty of an old man like myself to guide young children who have lost their way back onto the right path. Makarov said, as he stroked his chin.
Like Natsu said, Gadjil isn't a bad man at heart, at least I think so.
If it's your decision, Master, and Natsu says he's okay, then I will support it. Urza said, crossing her arms underneath her impressive bust. But I still think we should keep an eye on him for a while. I trust Natsu's judgment, but I can't help but feel a little uneasy. Don't worry, Urza, I'll make sure he doesn't try anything suspicious. Makarov said, as he nodded his head. Ugh, I'm glad that Juvia and Gadjil joined the guild, but... Natsu muttered, gazing at all new things around him. I don't know about this new guild, it just doesn't feel right for some reason.
Would you relax already, lover boy? Kana cheered with a grin as she ushered Natsu towards a table. The main event is about to start.
Main event?
Natsu parroted, quirking an eyebrow as he took a seat. What are you talking about, Kana? Just watch. Kana said, as she sat on top of the table next to Natsu. Suddenly all the lights in the guild went out, plunging the guild hall into darkness. Natsu felt a pleasurable shiver run down his spine when he felt Kana whisper into his ear in a sultry voice. I'm sure this show will cheer you up. Just then several spotlights lit up, shining their light upon a stage. When the curtain drew back, Natsu's eyes slowly widened when he saw Mira Jane in a beautiful leopard print dress, sitting on stool with a guitar in her hands. Mira! Natsu breathed out, in awe of the barmaid's beauty. She looks stunning. I didn't Mira could sing. Lucy said, as she turned to Natsu and Urza. Mira Jane has a beautiful singing voice. Urza said, taking a bite of her strawberry cake. I guarantee it will send shivers down your spine. Woo! Mira-cha. This is what we've been waiting for. Yeah, Mira-chan. This song is dedicated to all of our mages that are out on mission and those who have recently returned. Mira Jane said with a wink, before she blew a kiss, which was aimed directly at Natsu. Taking a calming breath, Mira Jane began to strum her guitar, filling the air with a soothing melody. I gently touch the stool where you used to sit, alone once more today with the shadows. I look up to the vast sky and whisper a prayer you're out there somewhere, staring up at this vast sky as well I bear with tears, even as I tremble, even when the darkness threatens to swallow me whole. You were right, Urza. Lucy said, as she gazed down at her eyes. I've totally got goosebumps right now. Myra's voice is simply beautiful. What do you think? Lucy stopped when she saw the look on Natsu's face. The pink-haired dragon slayer had a goofy smile on his face, seemingly entranced by Mira Jane's song. Lucy smiled at her lover, before she turned her focus back to Mira Jane's performance. I guess that answers my question. Don't you forget there will always be a place for you to call home, Mira Jane sang with a soft smile, locking eyes with Natsu from across the guild hall. And people you love waiting there for you. You're the best, Mira-chan. All right. Keep it going. We love you, Mira-chan. I could listen to Mira sing all day. Natsu said, his smile widening as he rested his head on his hand. As the pink-haired dragon slayer got lost in Mira Jane's song, her didn't notice a devious smile spread across Gajiel's face. Gee hee. Gajiel laughed, slamming his foot down on top of Natsu's. Ow! God damn it! Natsu roared, as he shot out of his seat, standing on top of the table. The pink-haired dragon slayer immediately fiercely glared at Gajiel. What the fuck was that for, Gajiel? You did that on purpose, you bastard. Do you have problem with me enjoying Myra's song or something? Oi! Shut the hell up, you two! Some random guild members yelled, as they threw their beer mugs at Natsu and Gajiel. The pink-haired dragon slayer was so caught up in yelling at Gajiel that he didn't notice the metal beer mugs flying towards him. Both dragon slayers were hit by the mugs, causing their heads to snap back. Natsu! Are you okay? Lucy exclaimed, rushing over to her lover's side. But her worries were for nothing, because Natsu was back on his feet in seconds. All right. Which one of you bastards threw that? Natsu yelled, flipping over the table he had been sitting at, which in turn sent Kana and Juvia tumbling to the floor. Oh shit. Sorry Kana, Juvia. It's fine Natsu, you didn't hurt Juvia. Juvia said, as she got back onto her feet. TCH, speak for yourself. I fell right on my ass. Kana cursed, rubbing her sore behind. However, the lush brunette's eyes shot open in anger when she saw that her beer had spilled all over the floor. Damn it, Natsu. You made me spill my drink. You owe me now. I'll buy you a drink some other time, Kana. Natsu exclaimed, as he dodged a chair that had been hurled at him by Gajiel. Just get down. Kana cocked her head in confusion for a moment, before she noticed a bottle flying towards her head. The brunette card mage squeaked in surprise, diving for cover behind an overturned table. For fuck's sake, Natsu! Gray shouted, roughly standing up from his seat, bumping into Urza in the process.
The scarlet-haired knight watched in horror as her cake fell onto the floor. Why do you always have to start shit like this?
My strawberry cake.
Urza whimpered as she reached for the delicious sweets. She screamed in shock when Elfman suddenly trampled her piece of cake.
My cake.
Oh shit. Natsu breathed out, watching as Urza hung her head, her shoulder beginning to shake. Someone had fucked with Urza's cake and knew what was about to happen.
Lucy, Juvia. Get down.
Grabbing both girls' hands, Natsu dove behind the table Kana was using as cover.
Natsu, why did dash? Just stay down.
Natsu exclaimed as he cowered behind the table. There is only time that Natsu truly fears Urza, and that's when someone gets between her and strawberry cake.
Urza's about to go on a rampage. Damn it, you guys.
Elfman yelled, punching a random guild member in the face.
Shut the hell up and listen to Nachon's song. Shut the fuck up, Elfman.
Urza roared in fury as she hit Elfman in the face with a powerful roundhouse kick, sending him flying across the guild hall. Equipping two swords, Urza chased after the massive man, destroying everything that stood in her path.
I'm not done with you, Elfman.
The fiery redhead suddenly turned her fierce gaze to Grey, who was currently fighting with some other guild members. When the ice mage met Urza's eyes, he nearly pissed his pants in terror.
Urza growled and pointed her blade at Grey. Once I'm done with Elfman, I'm coming for you, Grey.
Oh shit! Grey exclaimed, leaping out of the brawl he was currently in, and making a beeline for the door. However, he came to a screeching halt when a sword impaled in the wall right next to his head. Slowly turning his head, Grey froze in horror when he saw Urza holding up an unconscious Elfman. Where do you think you're going, Grey? Urza roared, as she dropped Elfman's unconscious form to the ground. The scarlet-haired knight cracked her knuckles as she stalked towards Grey.
Just be a good boy and accept your punishment. Grey-sama!
Juvia exclaimed, jumping to her feet to go help the ice mage. But she was stopped when someone grabbed her hand. Turning her head, Juvia saw that it was Natsu who had stopped her. The pink-haired dragon slayer's hand tightly held her wrist, as he slowly shook his head.
Trust me, Juvia, you do not want to get involved with that.
Natsu said, as he pulled the girl back behind the table. A sudden piercing scream from Grey caused a shiver to run down Juvia's spine.
See? It's best you just let Urza have her way.
Juvia guesses you're right. Juvia said, pulling her hat down further onto her head, seemingly trying to hide behind it.
*I**, guess it's no time for a ballad, eh?
Mira Jane said with a soft smile, as she suddenly tore off her leopard print dress, revealing a black tube top and miniskirt underneath. With a wicked grin that resembled her former personality, Mira Jane let out a wailing guitar riff.
Let's rock the house down then. I guess this place really hasn't changed at all.
Lucy said with a warm smile, gently grabbing a hold of Natsu's hand.
Yeah, I guess I was wrong to worry. Natsu said, as he gave Lucy's hand a quick squeeze.
But I'm glad this place hasn't changed, because that's what makes it fairy tale.
Why couldn't just hold off for one day? Makarov muttered, tightly balling his fists. You damn brats.
Suddenly Makarov wailed, as tears began to pour from his eyes.
Tomorrow is the day the reporter is supposed to come and collect data on the guild. Why couldn't you all wait until he was gone?
With low, rumbling growl, Makarov grew into his giant form.
Cut it out, you ingrates. Clean this place up now. Oh, don't go freaking out on us, Gramps. Natsu laughed, as a grin spread across his face.
We're all just letting off some steam.
Natsu.
A new voice caused Natsu to whip his head back around. He was quite surprised to see that Levi was standing next to him. Now it's not that Natsu didn't like Levi, in fact he had to admit he found her rather cute, it's just that they didn't really interact much. Which made it quite surprising to Natsu that she wanted to talk to him out of the blue. The petite blonde appeared to be rather nervous as she rubbed her arm.
Can I talk to you for a minute?
Sure, Levi, what do you need? Natsu replied, as he stood back up onto his feet, which caused him to almost tower over the girl. Well, you've been doing so much for the guild the past few days, and you fought for me in rest of Team Shadowgear when Phantom Lord attacked, and I just wanted to say. Levi said with a bright blush across her face, shocking everyone in the guild when she suddenly leaned forward and gave Natsu a quick kiss on the cheek. Thanks for being there for us. Her blush darkening several shades, Levi darted out of the guild. Did Levi just? Lucy asked in disbelief. Yes, I think she did. Urza said, her eyes wide in surprise. Damn it, she beat me to him. Kana muttered underneath her breath, as she took a long swig of her new beer. I guess I'll have to wait for my chance. What was that about? Natsu said with a light blush, touching the spot on his cheek where Levi had kissed him. She didn't have to do that. As Natsu stood in stunned silence, he noticed something out of the corner of his eye. Glaring at him from across the guild was Gajeel. The Iron Dragon Slayer had a look jealousy in his piercing eyes, as gripped the railing in front of him so hard that it snapped. A smirk spread across Natsu's face, as he locked eyes with Gajeel. Now this is interesting. That wraps up this part of What If Natsu Had Dual Elements. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.